Thank you for being here.
Thank you. Good evening, Mayor Strickland and members of the City Council. My name is Shirley Detloff, and I've been a resident of the city since 1964. I'm here tonight to ask the Council to vote against Pat Burns' item, which would allow 3 individuals to make decisions regarding the Human Dignity Statement. The statement does not need revisions, as it was strong when written and adopted by every council since 1996 and remains a document that says what our city believes in: protection of every member of our community, regardless of the country of their origin, religious belief, sexual orientation, racial background, gender, or disability. It is the right of all citizens to pursue their daily lives with the knowledge that they will not be physically harmed or verbally abused. The diversity brings to our city a rich and varied cultural heritage. When acts of hate are committed against any citizen, it is considered an act against the entire community. A hate crime is a criminal or attempted criminal act which is motivated by the victim's race, ethnicity, religion, sexual orientation, gender, or disability status. I'm here tonight as one of the authors of the Human Dignity Statement. I, along with Ralph Bauer and then Police Chief Ron Lowenberg, worked with staff to write the Human Dignity Statement. It's been supported by every council since 1996. This was done because of several incidents that happened in Huntington Beach. I was mayor at the time and received a call from a reporter of a large San Francisco newspaper who said that Huntington Beach was seen as the capital of the skinheads. I was appalled and did not think that this was true, but decided that it had to be looked at. I immediately went to Ralph Bauer, and then we took action. We became aware of recruiting that was being attempted in our high schools by skinheads. I received several letters from people from out of town who said they were accosted by skinheads on Main Street and would not return to our city. And several years before, there had been a killing of a black man on Beach Boulevard, and there was a beating of a Native American on our beach. So it was time to take action, because this was not the town that we loved and called home. Now it's not the time for changes or revisions, as the statement is strongly worded and has stood the test of time. It is exactly what we should stand in for times when hate crimes and anti-Semitic crimes are on the rise. I once again read every word that is in the statement, and it remains strong and reflects what our citizens believe in. Change is not necessary. I would be glad to sit down with Councilmember Burns and have him tell me directly what he feels is wrong with the statement, and I assure you I would meet with him and we would come to some conclusions. If you love this city and the citizens you are supposed to represent, you will leave these powerful words alone and govern a city that protects all of its residents. I ask you to continue the work that is being done by the Human Relations Committee and the Interfaith Council. Ralph and I felt it extremely important to have citizens who would take on the responsibility to make sure the city was living up to the Human Dignity Statement. It cannot be just a piece of paper, but a part of all actions taken by the city. The members of the committee are people who do not just monitor hate crimes, but have many activities for the citizens of this community to keep us all safe. Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker. Thanks for being here.
Yes. I need all 3 minutes.
3 minutes. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Elaine Bauer-Keeley, and I'm here to speak to you tonight on item 29 and ask that Councilman Burns that you amend your item and vote to affirm the Declaration on Human Dignity. Thank you for meeting with me as a representative of my father, Ralph Bauer, and we met with Shirley Detloff as well, the 2 authors of the Declaration on Human Dignity. I appreciate that respect for my father. May he rest in peace. The Declaration asks that we know our history so we don't repeat mistakes of the past. So I will share with you the history of the Declaration and one of the 2 authors. This is not a fabrication. This is factual. Ralph Bauer was the son of German immigrants born in LA during the 1930s Depression with an impending world war. He played basketball with the legendary coach John Wooden, and they were lifelong friends and philosophers together. He was an officer in the Korean War and served on a ship to make the world safe for democracy in active wartime. He also received a PhD in chemistry at UCLA. He would often remark that bigotry has no place on the basketball court or on a ship or in a science lab. Only excellence does. These experiences shaped his thinking as a young man, and then he gave 50 years of service to the city of Huntington Beach and 10 years in these chambers as a city councilman. The list of achievements is too long for me to share in 3 minutes. It is why Shirley and Ralph, in a bipartisan manner, were uniquely qualified and inspired to be the authors of the Declaration. This was the crowning achievement of a career in public service. Written with Shirley, it is a document that we should still aspire to. The very real murder of Mr. Flournoy at the hands of white supremacists was a catalyst for its writing. HB becoming known as a capital of white supremacists and the recruitment of young people was also a catalyst. Shirley and Ralph said, "Not on my watch." So they penned the declaration, and it received unanimous support by their city council and 12 more city councils unanimously. To ensure that it was not a static document, they formed the Human Relations Task Force. This group, with HBPD, was to put the declaration in action to help everyone learn from our history. In 2021, I was a new member to the Human Relations Task Force, and they were in the process of updating the declaration's language. My dad was caught by surprise, and to have the writing changed, I asked repeatedly why this was necessary. It was someone else's H item. Pat, please make a motion to uphold the document. You and I are the same age. We're late baby boomers. We have experiences in education and in police work, and we've seen unfortunate realities. We know that there's a lot of work to be done for safety, well-being, and respect for the young and old. But I ask you to think about the Declaration as a gift from the past, the generation before us. Respect the history. I do not want to see another well-intentioned ad hoc change, alter, tamper, or rewrite what was penned in 1996 for the future for Ralph and Charlotte's legacy.
Thanks for being here. Next speaker, thank you so much for being here.
Good evening, Mayor Strickland and City Council. A few nights ago, I sat just a few inches away from two members of the City Council, Graciela Vandermark and Casey McKeon. It was a meeting of the Mobile Home Advisory Board, which only meets 4 times a year. There was a rumor that the MHAB was going to be eliminated. If you were honest, the elimination of the MHAB would have been on the agenda. It was not. If you were being open and transparent, you would have added it to the agenda under comments. You did not. Then I presented you, Ms. Vandermeer, with 100 letters signed by the mobile home residents. Here I have 60 more, and there's more of these where this came from. Whether they be online or handwritten, we have more. If you were courageous, you would have immediately asked for discussion upon me handing them to you. You did not. Which leads to the conclusion that a decision had already been made about the MHAB. You see, more than 30 mobile home residents were sitting right behind you. You sat with your back to the residents, and you left the meeting early. You did not acknowledge us in any way. These mobile home residents represent the 3,000 Huntington Beach citizens. 3.5% of the population of Huntington Beach live in mobile home parks, 18 of them. But you didn't want to hear our voices. My question is why? Whose interest is served in eliminating the one place that mobile home residents, park owners, and the city can come together to resolve problems? The whole purpose and mission of the MHAB is to communicate. Instead, you sat in silence, pretending that everything was normal. When you knew the 3 city council members had formed an ad hoc committee, Vandermark, Strickland, and Burns met in secret with no public input or discussion and made the decision to eliminate several boards that have served the citizens for 27 years. And I ask again, why? But I guess we will not know. The MHAB costs nothing to run. It is funded by citizens who volunteer. And it's a shame it's going to go away. May I hand you these, sir? Sergeant at Arms? Thank you for listening.
Thank you. Next speaker, thanks for being here.
My name is Wendy Rencon. I'm a resident of HB for 49 years. I'm here to speak regarding the charter amendment proposals. they not only carry a significant financial implication due to election costs, potential litigation, especially regarding the local control. Do you hear that? Local control of elections taken away from the county and brought right here to Huntington Beach. And I understand that that would mean that would we still be allowed to vote by mail as citizens of Huntington Beach? Because that, if we change the charter, people, they get to decide how we vote, not the Orange County Registrar. They get to. I don't care if you're right or left. I don't care if you're right or left. We all need to be able to vote. And that means we don't get to decide, you don't get to decide if I vote by mail or I go to a precinct, which I'm going to guess there probably aren't going to be precincts all over the city. So I would like to know how you're going to handle that. If you think that by changing our charter, it makes a financial decision in our benefit to bring elections and have you and your cronies decide how that's going to be run, your job is to fix our streets, trim our trees, make sure we have clean water, clean air, we have a clean beach. And that we have public libraries that are open to everyone, and that we have mobile home parks where everyone can live, because not everyone can afford homes here. We need to have a community that supports people at all levels. We want to have people that work in the city and that can live in the city. But my God, not being able to vote by mail, by changing the charter, you guys are out of your damn minds.
Next speaker, thanks for being here.
Let me take my gag off. Good evening, Mayor Strickland, City Council members. My name's Arthur Estrada. I live in Scandia Mobile Home Park. I don't believe any of the City Council members live in a mobile home. I don't know if any member of the City Council has ever lived in a mobile home. That gives the City Council a very limited frame of reference for matters that impact people, the 3,000 people that live in mobile homes in Huntington Beach. That's where the Mobile Home Advisory Board comes into effect. You have the actuality have you actually read the Mobile Home Advisory Board's charter? The mission of the Mobile Home Advisory Board is to act as an advisory capacity for the City Council on matters concerning the mobile home community. If you have questions about the mobile homes, who has your back? The Mobile Home Advisory Board. When people in government do not have the information they need to make a decision, they have three choices. Ask people who have firsthand knowledge, or who are directly involved. 2, check with the experts, or 3, do research. I have just, a few nights ago, 2 members of the City Council sat around the table for a normal meeting with the members of the Mobile Home Advisory Board. They did not say a word about anything. They didn't mention anything. They were quiet. They were silent. They did not have the courage to put the questions on the agenda or to bring up for discussion. You know, this kind is like a husband having a normal dinner with his family. Then, after he leaves, he sends a text to his wife saying that he wants a divorce. Why? Because he didn't have the courage to tell her face to face. The Mobile Home Advisory Board didn't even get a text. They found out when the agenda was published. These 2 City Council members sat in absolute silence. Why? Either they have not read the mission of the Mobile Home Advisory Board, which is to advise the City Council about mobile home issues, or because they knew the decision had already been made, and that is both dishonest and unethical. I believe these members should recuse themselves from voting on this decision regarding the mobile home community. They did not meet, consult, or discuss with any Mobile Home Advisory Board. It can provide insight and information to the council on matters affecting mobile home communities. The important matters that deserve some time for public decision, I respectfully ask the City Council to delay any vote on this issue until the fall. This will give Huntington Beach citizens a chance to discuss and review this proposed change. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Next speaker, thanks for being here.
Roy McCord, Huntington Beach resident. Thank you, Mayor and Council, for the opportunity for all of us to have express our opinions. I'm here about the library issue. There is a poster in the entryway of the children's section of the library that solves this controversy. Took this photo last night. Capital letters. It's been there a while. Please do not leave children unattended. Mayor Strickland, we need your help to cool this controversy with some simple steps first. Put a citizen in the, with some library training in the ordinance drafting loop. It was offered at the last council meeting. 2, citizens have requested a list of the council's obscene and pornographic books. I know 5 people who have been to City Hall to see the books. When I was there, I was given 4. Last Tuesday at the Mayor's Town Hall, you were asked when citizens could have a list. The council position Tuesday was, I quote, too busy. The council position Tuesday was too busy. All these people, all frothed up, and the council doesn't have time to list 4 books? Doesn't seem right. Please fix it. 3, we are confused whether council objections extend past pictures to words. On June 27, council cited menstruation and tampons as book problems. Specifically, a bit over 6 hours into the archived tape, you can see it. I have heard that over 50% of Americans have or will experience menstruation on a regular basis. Odds are, lots of your younger constituents may want some information. Health statistics and common sense show that the average age in America for first menstruation is 12. Periods can start as early as 9 or as late as 15. According to Cleveland Clinic, before that time, your first period, you may have noticed these changes in your body: breast development, pubic hair growth. Very personal big changes for a 9, a 10, or an 11-year-old girl. Common sense says this can be alarming for some. The Huntington Beach Children's section is for people in this age range. I grew up with 7 sisters. Oh my goodness. Our lives would have been much easier had my parents taught us about menstruation, but in my conservative military family of 10 children, there was no way anyone would ask. Thankfully, there was the John Cossett Town Library. Huntington Beach Library has had an average of 133,470 registered users in the recent past. The library entertained just over 2,705,000 visits in 5 years. They're doing a great job. It looks like, Mayor Strickland, you are presiding over creeping big government, the nanny state right here in Huntington Beach. Bigger government to protect us, the incapable masses.
Thank you.
Put up a bigger sign and leave the please off.
Thank you for being here.
Don't leave children unattended.
I appreciate it. Thanks for being here. Thank you. Next speaker, thanks so much for being here.
Good evening, Mayor Strickland and Council. My name is Paul Horgan, and I'm a resident of Huntington Beach. At the June 20th, 2023 City Council meeting, based on a presentation that children at our public library were being exposed to obscene and/or pornographic, hereafter simply obscene, materials at the library, an ordinance was passed by the council. This ordinance sets in motion the creation of a possible screening process by which materials said to be obscene would not fall into the hands of children at the Huntington Beach Library. The screening process is being or will be considered by a working group, and the results will be reviewed by the council next month. Because the proponent of the ordinance, Mayor Pro Tem Gracie Vandermark, did not identify the specific books she relied upon in her presentation, on June 26th, she was requested to provide a list of the offending materials. That didn't happen, so on July 6th, 2023, a request was made to the mayor and the Mayor Pro Tem under the State Public Records Act, asking the city to identify all materials which were used as a basis for the proposed library screening ordinance. On July 10th, 2023, at the city clerk's office, the city provided 4 books pursuant to the public records request. A group of citizens reviewed the books at that time. Because only 4 books were presented on July the 10th, a note was sent to the city asking whether there were any other books which would be used as a basis for the proposed, or which were used as a basis for the proposed screening ordinance. The city responded on July 12th that the 4 books presented at the city clerk's office on July 10th were a complete response to the Public Records Act request. Our group subsequently checked as best we could the location of the 4 books at the library central branch. The first book, V is for Virgin, is in the young adult section, which is situated in the library's adult area. SEX, the second book, appears to be in the adult section. What happened to my body, boys' version, was located in the children's section. What's happening to my body, the girls' version, was not located but could be either in the children's action section or the adult section. Those who witnessed the June 20th presentation would likely come away believing that allegedly obscene materials are widely available to children at the Huntington Beach Library. However, as what is happening to my body is published in separate editions for boys and girls, whoever is studying or will propose a city screening ordinance to combat alleged library obscenity should be aware that only 1 book has been identified by the screening ordinance proponent as a possible basis for the ordinance. A related issue, the city has been asked whether the study group for library screening is in existence, and also whether and how interested citizens might participate in the study
10
process.
seconds.
We have seen no response to these requests as yet, and we respectfully ask for one at this time. Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks for being here. Next speaker, thank you so much for being here. Thank you.
who are tired of being blindsided by proposals from the council unaccompanied by any rationale. Some examples tonight. Why would we change the charter so the mayor can council meetings? Why would we downgrade the qualifications for city clerk? Why would we suggest charter changes without any justification to support them? So many surprises this year. Take the budget deficit. Why weren't we informed about the proposed budget sooner? Did the council really not know about the cuts until days before the deadline? Why was the revised budget worksheet only revealed after the council meeting started? How did a mysterious one-line entry for $1.5 million solve the whole problem? Why wasn't that the original budget if that was the case? And back to the air show. Why did we drop our motion to dismiss the air show before it was ever even heard in court? The Pacific Air Show filed its lawsuit against the city. Our attorneys filed a well-written motion seeking to have it dismissed. Our motion showed their lawsuit had no merit, provided hard facts to show that HB followed all the rules, made its decision carefully, and consulted with many other agencies. But last May, the county majority abruptly announced a settlement in which the city agreed to pay off CPA and instead of fighting them in court. Why did we agree to leave Kim Carr out of the settlement? The charter says she should have been indemnified. The main problem in the agreement is really that it commingles two entirely separate issues. One is the lawsuit. The other are the terms for a future airshow agreement. By mixing the two together, it's been made decipherable to the public, and we're not even allowed to see the agreement. Right. And, you know, the election proposal, you know, the ridiculous election, you know, per the local election proposal, the issues are how and why. Mayor Strickland says it would help strengthen faith in the integrity of local elections. It's just the opposite. The action taken by the council challenging election integrity will weaken public.
10 seconds.
Is that intentional? Yes. Do the council members realize that in 2022, in HB, 82 to 87% of the total ballots were mailed in, and you want to stop mail voting?
Thank you so much for being here. Thank you. Next speaker, thanks for being here.
Thank you, Council. Good evening, Huntington Beach. My name is Avery Counts, and I'm a proud resident of my hometown of Huntington Beach. I'm here today to urge the Council to forego their planned dissolutions of our city committees and boards, including the Mobile Home Advisory Board, as well as the Huntington Beach Human Relations Committee. These groups provide much-needed services to our city, including assessing and addressing the needs of our residents in mobile homes, as well as monitoring hate crimes and working with our police department. Friends, I fear my urges may fall upon deaf ears on this dais today, folks. This council majority has made clear that they have no interest in the input of the public, nor do they have any interest for our needs or wishes. This is proved by their efforts to restrict voting. They don't even want to hear your voice at the ballot box, folks. Surely these efforts will fall under intense legal scrutiny, but fear not, Huntington Beach, for we've got the best, or we kind of have an attorney, I guess. So good luck, Mr. Gates. If you want to overturn the Constitution, try your hardest, man. I wish you the best. And here's the thing. If our elections in Huntington Beach are so not secure, what about 2022, when you were all brought into power? Should we maybe do a redo, just to be safe? Because if it's not secure, we're going to want to redo it, right? Not just for the people that come after you, but for you as well, right? Do you think there was fraud? If there was fraud, did you benefit from said fraud? I don't know. These are questions you're raising. I'm just here to be curious about. Look, if my understanding is correct, an ad hoc committee consisting of Mayor Strickland, Mayor Pro Tem Vandermark, and Councilmember Burns have made this recommendation. If the council's looking for useless committees to go ahead and dissolve, why don't you start with that one? Never seen a bigger waste of air in my life, but for that committee to exist. And hey, remember that no changes to our city charter campaign promise they all ran on? Yeah, me too, right? They lie to us because they don't respect us. They don't have even an ounce of human respect for anybody in this city except for people that send them money. Thank you, sir. Folks, unfortunately for them, we're going to be there every step of the way throughout their careers. State Senate, wherever you all want to go, we're going to be there. That's a promise we're going to make, and we tend to keep our promises. Good. You can count on that one. Make no mistake, the fate of these committees and boards is the same fate of any city and commission that dares to disagree with our royal council. This is about squashing dissent and assuring that there is no one left around to disagree with them. It's not just undemocratic, it's childish. You'll find better conflict resolution skills on display at any of the playgrounds in our wonderful schools. And that breaks my heart, folks. Breaks my heart.
10 seconds.
Council, remember, the farther you push this pendulum, the harder it's going to swing back. Thank you.
Thank you for being here. Next speaker, thanks for being here.
My name is Andrew Einhorn, Huntington Beach citizen. First item 29 on the agenda, the amendment to the policy on human dignity. If the intention of this amendment is to introduce concepts such as woke, ban certain aspects of history or books, or further actions against the LGBTQ issues, or denying the Holocaust, who in this room would ever deny the Holocaust and not be investigated? I stand firmly against this policy on human dignity. The old policy, which I've read thoroughly, is perfect. Next topic, the ad hoc committee proposal, section 310. There are concerns about lowering job requirements and eliminating the need for a bachelor's degree for the city clerk position. It raises questions about the qualifications of less education for employees in such an important role. I expect an explanation why from the City Council. The proposed changes have a red flag and seem to resemble a questionable backdoor deal. It's crucial to address any potential nepotism, and I want that on the record, associated with these alterations. I strongly oppose this ad hoc proposal. Next topic, Section 702, local control of elections. I am 200% against this proposal in an attempt to suppress voters and intimidate them. The combination of the Orange County Registrar of Voters and the California laws have provided fair elections. We do not need external interference of our electoral processes. Given the fact that the 4 council members and the city attorney were elected in the past election, are you implying that this was a prior election that was corrupt? It's time for Huntington Beach citizens to be vigilant and pay close attention to the actions of those in power and their motives behind their attempts to control elections. It's wake-up time for Huntington Beach citizens. Open your eyes
10 seconds.
to the power-hungry majority which is attempting to run our elections. Thank you.
Thank you for being here. Next speaker, thanks so much for being here.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor and council members. My name is Victor Leipzig. I'm a longtime resident of Huntington Beach, 41 years, if I count right. A former mayor of the city of Huntington Beach, former member of the city council, former member of the planning commission of the city of Huntington Beach for many years. And in those capacities, former liaison to many of the boards and commissions of the city. And I continue to serve the city in regard to on the committee in regard to Central Park, which has changed its name and its structure over the years many times. I would like to speak very briefly about the charter amendments proposals. Some of the amendments that are proposed by your ad hoc committee are relatively minor. Wouldn't mind at all to see those be put directly on the ballot by the city council itself. However, some of them are extremely substantive. Those are the ones that have drawn attention from the public here this evening. And those, I'm not going to address the substance of them, simply process. Those deserve full public address by a public process of examination, like we have done consistently in the past in regard to charter amendments. The other issue I'd like to address is the human dignity statement. One of the saddest moments in my service to this community was the moment when I learned as the mayor of Huntington Beach that a gentleman had been murdered on the streets of this city by a hate crime. The following year, one of my happiest moments on the service of this community occurred when I was given the opportunity to be one of the original signatories of our original human dignity statement. I take no credit for initiating or composing that statement. That credit goes to 2 members of the council at that time, my good friend Shirley Detloff here this evening, one of the great heroes in the history of Huntington Beach, and to the late Ralph Bauer, another good personal friend of mine. And I really could not do better than to simply echo the thoughts of his daughter Elaine, who spoke so beautifully to you just a few minutes ago in defense of that original statement on human dignity, and to remind you of the great need that the city of Huntington Beach had in the 90s and still has in the 2020s for a strong commitment to human dignity for every citizen, regardless of race, creed, religion, and so on. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you. Thank you, sir. Next speaker, thanks so much for being here.
My name's Randall Costello. Hello, Huntington Beach. What in the world are we doing talking about human dignity? Are you insane? My God! You see these people that are in here? Look at them. Look at these people that are in here. They're not happy with you. I don't even know you. I don't even know you, but I'm gonna. I have a story for you since you don't get to talk. Except for 10 seconds. Cut it out, man. We can see the time. Shut up. If you can't talk, don't talk.
I only give you 10 seconds so you can finish your statement.
We don't need you to say that, sir. Okay. We don't need you to say that. Here's my story.
Hold on. Quorum.
No,
Decorum.
stop
No.
my time.
Decorum. Stop his time.
Stop my time.
There will be decorum in this audience. We let everybody speak their time, and we respect your time. Please move forward.
I have a story for you, and I'm so glad I didn't hear one word you said. It's a poem. Let's see, what do I got? A minute and a half? All right. It's called God, Baseball, and Satan. Now here it goes. God's children been in the dugout. And Satan's fiends been out on the field yucking it up and having a grand old time. Not caring about nothing or love or helping. All just a big disgust. And they're terrible at baseball. They're the visitors. Are you the home team or are you the visitors? Yeah, you're lucky none of you get the answer, right? So, you know what happens then? The catcher woke up and he saw all kinds of hooligans and whatnots in charge and doing stuff, telling people things, and he's like, hey, walking up and down the dugout trying to wake everyone else up. Man, nobody sees it. The catcher saw. The catcher saw ya. Yeah, now he's waking everyone up. That's the short version of part 1. I'm so glad none of you get to say a word. Not a word. And we don't want to hear nothing from you. Why don't you start listening?
10 seconds.
I knew you'd open your big
Thank you for being here. Next speaker, thanks for being here.
All right. Good evening, Mayor and City Council. Robin Stanislaw, your City Clerk, here to share my concerns about the Charter Ad Hoc Committee's proposed amendments 5, 6, and 7. First, I'm interested in hearing your justification for Amendment 5 that suggests moving the election of clerk and treasurer to gubernatorial elections. Amendment 7 can be best described as unnecessary. Why consider local control when we are privileged to consolidate our elections through the county? All, and I repeat, all cities in Orange County do. Our registrar's office is one of the most respected in the country, with highly specialized equipment to process voter registration, authenticate signatures, and certify elections. The 2022 election audit reports and certifications to support this have been uploaded in tonight's record for our public. Vote centers and ballot drop box operations established countywide have proven successful. The time and money required to meet the objectives of this amendment and incorporate so-called home rules doesn't make sense to me, and I wonder about liability associated with interfering in our citizens' right to vote in a legitimate system designed and managed by election experts. Amendment 7 should not be considered without a clear plan and legal analysis. It is my belief that Amendment number 6 is proposed because one or more potential candidates for city clerk do not possess the charter-required degree for this position. Our city attorney, Michael Gates, informed me of his wife Kelly's plans to run for clerk during a council meeting recess in June, and that Kelly, and I quote, was being pressured to run in 2024. He said he was trying to talk her out of it, and proceeded to fish for information on my plans for retirement. I asked if he saw Kelly's candidacy as a conflict of interest, and he said no, suggesting that our positions as attorney and clerk do not interact much. I questioned Kelly's qualifications. He said that she had ran a few businesses. The conversation ended when I pointed out that my assistant, Stephen Aguilar, would be a most qualified candidate, as he's already served as clerk in another city. Michael also contacted our former city clerk in May with questions on the authority and enforcement of the charter's education requirements for city clerk. Another reason I question the motives behind this charter amendment number 6. A city clerk serves the public, ensuring their right to experience free and fair elections and participate in open and transparent government. Our citizens rely on unbiased service from a trained and educated clerk, and the Charter's existing requirements are appropriate and should not be undermined to provide opportunity to unqualified candidates or politicians for that matter. I am confident that our voting public understands misuse of power when they see it. I urge you to take no action on proposed Charter Amendments 5, 6, and 7. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Next speaker. Thank you. Next speaker. Thank you.
Thank you. I don't have a very loud voice. Honorable Mayor and City Council members, I am a 54, 56, I don't know, 58-year resident. I am Joan Flynn. I had the privilege of serving our city and residents for 12 years as a city clerk. I entered the position with a BS degree in organizational management and 7 years of Huntington Beach municipal experience, and now hold a master's in public administration, as I found it necessary to keep up with the growing and technological complexity of the job. I served 4 years on the Southern California City Clerks Association as both president and vice president of education for over 300 cities. I also served on the California State City Clerk Association, chairing the committee to set educational and experiential benchmarks for California city clerks. I know what makes a city a stellar city clerk, and Huntington Beach deserves only the best. I am urging you not to alter Charter Section 310. Huntington Beach holds the gold standard as far as quality of our city clerk and office staff. Because of this reputation, Robin and I have had the opportunity to officially mentor many of the Orange County city clerks and have sat on more than 9 oral boards for Orange County cities hiring their clerk. We have trained and transitioned our staff to the city clerk position in 5 cities. The public has voted numerous times to retain an elected city clerk, so there is no HR review of qualifications. It is incumbent upon the council to set a standard of qualifications to bring in only the best to the position. Voters are looking for quality, not quantity, of candidates. Our city clerk is an elected official who serves as a department head. He or she contributes equally with the other department heads on citywide issues and initiatives. They are the public's partner in democracy. While you, the city council, set policy and the city manager implements that policy, the city clerk ensures the integrity of the process by which you reach that policy and then codifies and manages the ensuing information to ensure it is in line with the laws protecting the public's right. As such, the clerk works hand in hand with the U.S. Department of State, California Secretary of State, FPPC, the Library of Congress, County of Orange, both the International and California Institute of City Clerks, the League of California Cities, and clerks from cities and districts. Why would this council walk back this reputation of excellence? Would you want a person with a kinesiology major managing public works, or a BA in art performing the job of city attorney, an aviation major managing the city's money? Why not hire a psychology major as the fire chief? A BA is not a BA. All city department heads positions require the appropriate degree, major, and certifications. Why would you accept less for such an important position to the Huntington Beach public as the city clerk? The previous bipartisan, and again I say bipartisan, charter commission submitted to council that was deemed that the appropriate position for, after reviewing the job requirement, was a business degree, and they agreed upon that because they believed that that fit the office.
Thank you so much for being here. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. Please do not pass Charter Amendment 310.
Thank you. Thank you. City Clerk, do we have more speakers?
Yes, I'm going to call the next group. Allie Plum, Ada Hand, Donna Andrade, Jeannie Ferens, Jim Togershian, Zignesh Pader, Stephen Quinn, Jeannie Paris, Ann Palmer, and Mary Jo Baratish.
Thank you for being here. Please proceed. Thank you.
My name is Ada Hand, and I'm against item 27. The City Council raised campaign contributions 2 to 3 times more than the top 3 cities in Orange County. Rich residents have a greater tool to reach their elected officials than middle and lower income voters. Strickland, Vandermark, McEwen, and Burns took over 6,800 each from mobile home park owners and their lobbyists. Prior to the November election, park owners in Huntington Beach donated over $77,000 to MHET, the park owners' lobbyists. You newly elected foursome are beholden to rich corporations and individuals. They got what they wanted, elimination of the Mobile Home Advisory Board. Your campaign stated, stop the power grab. Now we know who's doing the power grab. You claim to eliminate the Mobile Home Advisory Board to raise police salaries. Our meetings total about $2,600 a year. Do you really think that's enough to pay a policeman? And the people that you say will be taken off that responsibility, they'll have other jobs. You're not saving money on their salary. You know it's a lie when you said the state's Housing and Community Development will take over the Mobile Home Advisory Board. The city will still have to monitor Title 25 health and safety issues. You won't be foisting that off on HCD. This is nothing but a payback to the park owners who have bought and paid you to do their bidding. The Mobile Home Resident Coalition will continue to be at City Council meetings holding your feet to the fire, reminding you that 3,000 low and moderate income residents and taxpayers in this town are losing their homes because predatory park owners are raising our rents when we pay housing costs of 50 to 95% of our income. We'll be reminding you that we're doing without food and medicine in order to pay these housing costs. But you, hard-hearted Hannahs, could care less. You're too busy grifting the taxpayers of Huntington Beach. Shame on you for being such greedy, short-sighted nincompoops.
Thank you for being here. Next speaker, thanks so much for being here.
I don't like being gagged or muzzled, especially by the City Council Ad Hoc Committee, which seeks to dissolve our 30-year-old Huntington Beach Mobile Home Advisory Board, representing 17 mobile home communities. I have been on the board for over 2 years and have attended meetings for 7 years. Ms. Vandermark and Mr. McKeon are our liaisons and have attended 3 meetings. During those meetings, they barely spoke a word, especially last Monday, when they most likely knew we were being disbanded, and yet those two sat still and heard our pleas for continuing this board. Shameful. This board not only was founded for healthy communication between mobile home park owners with all the power and money, but it's also for the manufactured homeowners, but we're also for education and information, not just rent control. Gracie, you've got it wrong. We've answered questions about education, insurance questions, and resident-owned parks. Vandermark has proposed that the homeowners go to the State Housing Community Development, HCD, with our concerns. And I quote Vandermark's campaign speech, "I focus on community involvement with local issues. We are HB resident volunteers." Vandermark, McKeon, Strickland, and Burns have taken money from the mobile home park owners through MET, Manufactured Housing Education Trust, and WMA, Western Manufactured Housing Association. Therefore, she and the ad hoc committee have a conflict of interest. Again, I quote from Gracie Vandermark's campaign, "I am a grassroots candidate and not beholden to special interests." She's taken $6,819 from Mobile Home Education Trust, and so have McKeon, Burns, and Strickland, and Mr. Great Gates. Shame. She says she spent the last several years advocating for local control and transparency within our community. Please, City Council, reassess item 27 and retain local control of our 17 mobile home communities, 9 of which are senior, 8 all age. Also, please retain the Human Relations Board as well. To give the police more responsibility rather than cooperating with local volunteers seems short-sighted. Lastly, Vandermark said her City Council priorities are protecting the city charter. From what? Yet another ad hoc, one-sided committee tampering with voting locally by removing reliance on state elections code for all aspects of elections.
10 seconds.
This committee is now an elections expert. Please stop item 28 and remember why you're here. We, the voters, are watching.
Thank
or
you.
does this speak louder?
Thank you so much for being here. Thank you. Thank you. Next speaker, thanks for being here.
Good evening, Mayor Strickland and members of the City Council. My name is Donna Andrade, and I'm a recent mobile home resident. We have lived here for 3 years. We love Huntington Beach. We enjoy the surf, the sand, the sense of community that we found in our mobile home park. Our mobile home is our dream home. The park where we live has 320 spaces. That's more residents than some small towns. Most important, we have concerns. We know that we can go to the Mobile Home Advisory Board and raise the issue for discussion. They have your back. Now the City Council is proposing to shut down this important board that is such a resource for the mobile home community. I ask why. I have questions for the City Council. Does the City Council really support affordable housing? Many seniors, veterans, disabled people, and low-income families live in mobile home parks. Does the City Council have a problem with these groups? Why would they want to silence their voice by disbanding the Mobile Home Advisory Board? You are telling these residents we don't want to hear your voice. Secondly, the City Council is also proposing to shut down the Human Relations Committee, just at a time when hate crimes are on the rise. It's a matter of growing concern, not just in Huntington Beach, but across the nation. The Human Relations Committee works closely with the Huntington Beach Police Department to protect our citizens. One of your responsibilities is to provide for the health and safety of the city. I want to live in a safe community. It's a part of your job to make sure that happens. I urge the City Council to drop the proposal to eliminate the Human Relations Committee. Right now, we need it more than ever.
Thank you. Thanks for being here. Next speaker, thanks so much for being here.
My name is Jean Behrens. I live at Scandia Mobile Home Estates, and I am one of those whom the so-called conservative council majority is trying to gag and to submit to silence. I'm referring to item 27, a recommendation by an ad hoc committee composed of 3 of the 4 with no council minority representation to streamline and restructure citizen-led boards, commissions, and committees, and most specifically, the elimination of the Mobile Home Advisory Board. This board has represented the over 3,000 mobile homeowners, 3% of some of the city's most vulnerable population, seniors, veterans, the disabled, and struggling families, for over 27 years. Counter to what Councilwoman Vandermark propounded in a recent news article based upon her vast experience after attending a whopping 3 nearly entire board meetings, the Mobile Home Advisory Board has not exclusively used meetings to ask for a rent stabilization ordinance, nor, as suggested, can the HCD address any issues beyond those of health and safety. Over the years, the board has addressed multiple topics of interest and importance, including the role the city should play in dealing with mobile home park issues and concerns. It was, in fact, prodding through the Mobile Home Advisory Board that prevailed upon the city to do anything about any of these issues. A dissolution of this board would leave this vulnerable population of Huntington Beach with nowhere to bring issues of continuing exorbitant rent increases, failure by park owners to address issues of maintenance, unfair evictions, and other concerns. Furthermore, the Council has also recommended the dissolution of the HRC, whose function is to promote mutual understanding, respect, safety, and well-being of all in our community, and to monitor hate crimes. This would presumably be followed by the city's ad hoc committee's proposed charter change to the very language defining hate crimes found in the city's Declaration of Human Dignity. This ad hoc committee, populated only with members of the council majority with no representation from affected communities, is further evidence of the majority's primary agenda, an autocratic attempt to silence any council minority opinion, influence, or democratic representation of any citizenry not aligned with their alt-right vision for Huntington Beach. And their proposal to change the city charter to take control of elections away from the state is the final nail in the coffin. Let us be perfectly clear. Huntington Beach, please wake up. This isn't about restructuring. It's a power grab, pure and simple. This isn't about streamlining City Hall. It's about silencing voices. First come long-standing boards that have given voice to seniors, veterans, struggling families, and victims of hate. Then an attempt to take over control of state elections.
10 seconds.
Please understand, the issue isn't about disbanding a couple of committees. It's about dissembling democracy.
Thank you for being here. Thank you. Next speaker, thanks so much for being here.
Council people, can you hear me?
Yes.
Can you hear me? I don't see acknowledgement there. Can you hear me, Mr. Burns? Mr. Burns, can you hear me? Can you put your hearing aid on, please? Okay. I'm testing the microphone because I want to make sure that I have a voice tonight that's going to be heard. Okay, listen carefully, please. Okay.
Hold on.
Okay. Thank you.
Hold on. Please proceed.
Thank you. I'm here to support the Mobile Home Advisory Board. Don't dismantle it. I just wanted to test your hearing because it's very critical that a lot of people are sort of concerned about this topic, and I'm one of them. I just want to draw a contrast. Basically, I think that people here have a voice. I think you all have the auditory skills to hear things. I want to contrast it against probably something that you might know in history. I hate to say this, but it sounds like you're following the path of the president of Turkey. He's a dictator, Erdogan, or maybe the president of Azerbaijan. He's a dictator. His name is Aliyev. So basically, are you concerned that basically you want to be in a dictatorial position and dictate people's policies and lives? I hope not. That's all I have to say, believe it or not, and I concede my time to the next person that wants to take the advantage of this microphone. Thank you for listening.
Thank you. Thanks for being here. Next speaker, thanks so much for being here. Yes, please.
Good evening, Mayor and City Council members. My name is Mary Jo Baratich. I've been a resident of Huntington Beach for over 40 years. I'm currently a member of the Mobile Home Advisory Board, being first serving at 8-year term from 2010 to 2018, and then appointed to serve again in 2020. I was shocked to read the agenda item 27 regarding the dissolution of the Mobile Home Advisory Board. Over the many years that I've been involved, our board has been able to solve many issues between the park owners and the mobile home homeowners and avoid legal lawsuits. Besides being set up to engage the community in problem solving, the board members and attending homeowners have been fortunate that the Mobile Home Advisory Board was set up to also educational tool by recruiting presenters from the state, business, and nonprofit community to speak on matters affecting mobile home park owners and residents. The choice and content of the information presented is especially relevant, and it's very important. I would like to also clarify some of the inaccuracies of the item 27. It is incorrectly stated in the attachment of the PowerPoint that any conflict resolution issues between the mobile home owners and park owners should be directed to the California Department of Housing and Community Development, which regulates mobile home parks. It also, in addition, says city staff can connect residents to appropriate city and community resources. To clarify, neither HCD nor the city staff have anything to do with many of the issues that we discuss. Yes, we have to go to the HCD to resolve health and safety issues, and the mobile home residency law violation by park owners per the MRLPP. But for the resolutions of misunderstanding between mobile home homeowners and their managers and park owners, our Mobile Home Advisory Board in the past have been able to very successfully and positively have a dialogue to iron out these misunderstandings and to have helped bring all the parties in the communities together for a safer and more congenial community. And this is one of the things that I finally think is affected citizens with the experience and knowledge to add value to the discussion and formulation of any policy recommendations need to be included in this type of ad hoc committee so that all sides can be heard. This helps avoid legal remedies and confusion. I suggest that the ad hoc committee members meet with the Mobile Home Advisory Board members and listen to their viewpoints and suggestions. And until that time, please remove item 27 from the agenda. Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks so much for being here. Next speaker. Next speaker, thanks for being here.
Thank you for inviting me over here. I appreciate that, Mayor Strickland. My name is Jignesh Patiar. I really appreciate the time to speak over here today, and I appreciate your amendment, item number 7. I think we have been drilled almost nonstop since 2020 about the sanctity, the importance of our elections, and that we are still today, still reeling with the effects of 2020. And one thing I do have to commend the council majority that currently sits here, that they are willing to stand up for what we want. And we do want to have our election integrity there. I have no problem with reviewing every election, past, last one, the 2020 election, and we should be able to have full transparency. I think we should have that local ID and local control in there because we are losing it. We're getting much, much more foreign interests and foreign individuals coming in and trying to tell us how we should go ahead and see our elections. And it was said earlier about this pendulum swinging. I don't know if you paid attention to the last election. It was a 4-0 sweep. That was a pretty big pendulum sweep. And you should pay attention to that because I know that this memory hole exists on the left, that you can't even fathom that at one time there was a council majority of 6-1 that didn't even want to spend $1 million for a flash election, but a month later had no problem spending over $300 million buying the Elon and the Flashpoint projects. This is absurd. This is what I'm talking about. And this is what I have to commend the left to. I commend all of you on the left because when you are in power, you use your power. Absolutely. So I am going to go ahead and say that now if we are going to be in power, why should we be able to hold back our hands and listen to your voices? Our voices will not hear by the three up here that are constantly. Maybe now they're not even being heard even more. So maybe now you learned your lesson that maybe if you listened to us before, you might have a voice now.
Thank you for being here. Thank you. Next speaker, thanks so much for being here.
Yes, Stephen Quinn here.
Hold on a second, hold on. Again, give respect to the speakers.
Stephen Quinn here. I'm here to lend my support to Pat Burns' attempt to amend the city's declaration of policy on human dignity. I took a look at that document last night, and I was struck by the stirring rhetoric, the lofty appeals to our common human dignity. Needless to say, none of those noble prohibitions on hateful speech seem to apply to the vile slanders, even tonight, still being routinely spewed in this hall at our Mayor Pro Tem, Gracie Vandermark. One line in the document in particular jumped out at me. The Huntington Beach City Council states in the strongest terms that it condemns all hate incidents and hate crimes and will vigorously fight criminal activity related to hate with all the resources at its disposal. Now, I'm a product of the 20th century, so this is going to sound really old-fashioned, but it shouldn't it be the council's goal to fight all criminal activity with all the resources at its disposal, and not just those crimes committed against select victim groups? I consider it a monstrous miscarriage of justice to ever have concocted the idea of hate crimes. Is it unreasonable to say that all violent crime is motivated by hate? All violent crimes and assaults are despicable acts worthy of severe punishment. It matters not a whit to me what particular prejudices the perpetrator may have been acting upon as he beats, rapes, robs, or murders his victim. To prioritize the vileness of a crime based on the identity of the victim only serves to create a world where one victim's suffering counts more than another's, where a monstrous act becomes somehow more monstrous if the victim is a member of a certain group. The Bible teaches us to hate evil, not to hate hate. We would do well as a society to remember that. We will only achieve a more unjust society if we declare one victim's suffering to count more than another's.
Thank you so much. Thanks for being here. Next speaker, thanks for being here.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor Pro Tem and council members. My name is Jeannie Paris, and that was my husband, and he took one of my lines. I'm just kidding. I'm speaking tonight in strong support of agenda number 27 to streamline and restructure some of the boards, commissions, and committees, as I think less is always better, so we can really focus on what needs to be done and bring it to your attention, as opposed to spreading it all out and no one's really getting anything accomplished. I also strongly support agenda number 29, amending the Declaration of Policy of Human Dignity. If we dissolve the Huntington Beach Human Relations Committee, which is full of virtue signaling and doublespeak, this topic is moot. The activities in that group can still go on without the sanctification of the council. The job of the city council is to run the city and not gaslight our local citizens, which is constant. In fact, as I read this declaration, I was struck by the appearance of who gets to decide what is hate speech. Do we not already have a Declaration of Independence and system of rule of law? If I express my concern as a citizen of this city about certain groups that wanted to burn down my city 3 years ago, is that freedom of speech or is that hate speech? If a certain citizen in this community continually harasses a member of the council by falsely calling her a Nazi, among other things, is that freedom of speech or is that hate speech? It states in the Declaration of Policy on Human Dignity, quote unquote, every member of our community has the right to be treated with dignity, and it is our collective responsibility to ensure this is normalized behavior. Participate at your places of worship, community meetings, wherever you are, lend your voice to opposing hate. I don't see anybody opposing the hate that's thrown at some of our council members. And 3 of you signed this declaration. It's just ridiculous. Regardless, I think the U.S. Constitution makes this declaration of dignity irrelevant. Thank you.
Thank you so much for being here. Thank you. Next speaker, thanks for being here.
Hello all, Ann Palmer, 30-year resident of Huntington Beach. Most of what I'm going to say refers to budget. This is a very, very full agenda. I'm going to talk really, really fast. So starting with item number 28, the charter amendment proposals for number 1 and 2, for clarity and transition, I think that's great. Number 3B, I have an issue with, that is expanding the footprint every 10 years of playgrounds to the point where they would be untenable. So I have a counter proposal, 20% increase in 10 years, 100% total increase in perpetuity. I say yes to a 2-year budget. And on number 7, yes, absolutely, I support local elections, and I'll tell you why. Nobody said we weren't going to have mail-in ballots, but I think a huge part of the community wanted more polling places in your neighborhoods, not having to get a ride somewhere at a super huge facility or drop box. So I strongly support that. So now to the fun part. Number 27, commissions streamlining. First of all, some of these groups really have had a big legacy in our city. So I sympathize for them not wanting to relinquish that. What I would recommend is, and encourage, is for them to continue with citizens groups and or nonprofits to carry on without staff and resources from the city. You have a voice right here, every council meeting, and you can call a meeting at any time, and you can continue for lobbying or whatever, but you all have a voice. For Human Relations Committee and the Mobile Board, The Jet Noise Commission also, I'm very invested, but I think it can go. Please assign somebody and have the intergovernmental relations pay close attention to the airports that surround us. We think it's important what they're doing. The Urban Design Committee, I would say that urban design needs to be monitored across the city. If you're just doing that downtown, I do not support the PCH takeover at this time. I think it's a budget expense that we don't need. If we want to improve tourists' perception of our town, let's look at the beach, Golden West, and Warner corridors from the freeways that desperately need some beautification. So on to item number 29, the resolution. Yes, let's review the Human Dignity Resolution, both the 1996 and the 2021 versions. Unfortunately, in my opinion, they are bloviating juvenile documents. I know it was well-meaning. I understand that a lot of thought and heart went into them, but they're preachy. And when we say to you, to groups over whom we have no control,
10 seconds.
We're wrong. So that statement should be concise and professional. Thank you.
Thank you so much for being here. Thank you. Madam Clerk, do we have more speakers?
Yes, we do.
Okay.
Mayor, Gigi Jackson, Vanessa Chow, Nora Peterson, Connie Boardman, Debbie Parrott, Colin Parrott, Gary Miller, Casey Faulkner, Bud Benema, Jeff Rokos.
Thank you for being here.
Good evening, Mayor Strickland and council members. My comments tonight are directed to the Huntington Beach residents. My name is Connie Boardman. I've been mayor of the city of Huntington Beach twice and served 8 years on the city council. The city council majority chose to settle a lawsuit with the owner of the Pacific Air Show even before a judge had the chance to dismiss the suit over canceling one day of the air show due to a massive oil spill off our coast. Former Planning Commissioner Mark Bixby and I sued the city in an attempt to intervene and prevent the wasteful expenditure of $78 million of taxpayer money to the Pacific Air Show, and the owner of which is a close friend of one of the council members. Unfortunately, this week, a judge ruled that Mark and I could not intervene to stop the city from giving the Pacific...
Let the speaker speak. Thank you.
From giving the Pacific Air Show at least $7 to $8 million of taxpayer money. I say at least because no one in the public knows exactly what else is in the settlement. Sir?
Hold on. Yeah, I'm sorry. Please hold her time. She's at 2 minutes.
Excuse me, that's outrageous.
We're gonna do a 5-minute recess. We're going to do a 5-minute recess. 5-minute recess.
Let her know, I gotta let her know that she my white horse, she my medical, she like my baby mama, know how to take care of me.
Okay, we're back from recess. Madam Clerk, can we give Ms. Boardman her full 3 minutes? Just start with the full 3 minutes.
Thank you, Mr.
Apologize
Mayor.
about the disruption, but we want your undivided attention for your comments, so please continue. Thank you for being
Okay, thank
here.
you, sir. Thank you. I appreciate it. So I'll start from where I left off. Unfortunately, this week, a judge ruled that Mark and I could not intervene to stop the city from giving the Pacific Air Show at least $7 to $8 million of taxpayer money. I say at least because no one in the public knows exactly what else is in the settlement because the council majority refuses to make the settlement agreement available. Mark and I are continuing discussions with our attorney about other options available to us. While we may have lost this battle, we are considering pursuing other legal avenues. Also, there are many awful items on the agenda tonight. The most dangerous ones for our city are the proposed amendments to our city's charter. One proposed amendment would remove reliance on the state election code for all aspects of elections. How would this be a good thing, not to rely on our state's election code? It also removes the county from running city council elections and other city elections, institutes voter ID requirements and ballot box intimidation. The county runs municipal elections and does a great job. There is no need to change how this city runs its municipal elections. To do so will vastly increase costs to the city, and this suggested charter amendment might very well violate the Constitution of the state of California. Another suggested charter amendment reviews any requirement to run for city clerk other than a 4-year college degree. What are the requirements for city clerk? A bachelor's degree in business, public administration, or a related field, and hold certification as a municipal clerk, or obtain such certification within the first 3 years in office. Why would we want to change this? It's a very reasonable expectation that any clerk would obtain certification within 3 years of being elected, as well as having a bachelor's in public administration or a related field. Another proposed amendment moves the election of the city treasurer and clerk to the midterm election cycle rather than the years when we elect our president. Why do that? This is an attempt at voter suppression. Fewer people vote during midterm elections compared to years when we elect our president. The council should be trying to encourage more voter participation in local elections, not the opposite. Please oppose these harmful charter amendments if and when you see them on the ballot. Thank you.
Thank you for being here. Thank you so much. Thank you. Next speaker, thanks for being here.
Before I can start, I just need to say what happened tonight was very disruptive. And if this was a person of color that had done this, that person would have been taken out of here. I don't care what you guys have to say. I'm very disappointed with the rudeness that he has exhibited and others that chime in with him. Anyway, to all city council members, city attorney, and staff, I am Gigi Jackson. I'm an advocate with Homeless United. I'm the branch secretary of NAACP Orange County, and I will let them view this video of what took place tonight. And I'm a resident of Huntington Beach. I stand before you today with a concerned heart, compelled to express my concerns and disagreements with some of the decisions made in our community. At the last meeting I attended on June 26th, I regretfully could not share my thoughts due to health reasons and the overwhelming number of speakers addressing various issues like the closure of libraries, the pride flag, book censorship, and the stagnant progress of the housing element. I did email my concerns to all of you during that time. I find it disheartening to see that some of these concerns persist on tonight's agenda, such as the declaration of the policy about human dignity and the dismantle of some committees, such as Human Relations Committee. I want to make it clear that my intention is not to disrespect any of you, city council members or the mayor. I firmly disagree with some of the matters that have been brought forward, and despite many residents sharing their heartfelt stories and concerns at this podium, the decisions are often predetermined and concerns shared are ignored. I address you not just as leaders and representatives of our community, but I'm also addressing the fellow residents of Huntington Beach. The power of change lies within us, the voting residents. If the concerns of like-minded residents are continuously ignored, it gives rise to a feeling of helplessness and disempowerment. Public speaking is not a natural skill for me, but I'm here tonight because I believe in the significance of our voices. Every resident's voice counts, and our votes are a means to bring about changes we desire. There are critical issues that need our attention, such as passing a housing element that caters to the need of all residents and finding a budget solution that avoids job cuts and address housing insecurity. Yet it's upsetting to see resources being allocated to non-essential matters, such as hiring an unqualified assistant city attorney. Thank God, Michael, you did your homework and revoked that candidate's application. Before I close, I want to repeat a concern I couldn't address on the 26th of June. Huntington Beach is jeopardizing essential facilities like the NAFTA. I also just want to say that President Biden on 2021 made Juneteenth a federal holiday, and this city has not acknowledged that, and I wanted to make sure that that was said.
Thank you for being here. Thank you. Next speaker, thanks so much for being here.
You're welcome. Thank you, Honorable Mayor, City Council, staff, public. Casey Faulkner here to say a few words on item 27, in particular recommendation number 5 to move the Environmental and Sustainability Board over to the Public Works Commission. I've been a resident here in the city for over 40 years. I happen to sit on the Environmental and Sustainability Board, the board that is looking to be moved over. Since 1979, the Environmental and Sustainability Board has been advising council and staff on issues such as waste management, recycling products, the ocean environment, air quality, and other various environmental concerns. And most recently, we've been assigned the task of working on the Sustainability Master Plan. Prior to becoming an educator, which is where most of you know me from, I was in the semiconductor industry. I started an internet company back in the late 90s, and I was in the medical device field. I know about streamlining operations. You do not need redundancies. We all get that. Here's my question. One combines areas where there are redundancies. Where is the redundancy here? What does the environmental board have to do with public works? The people on the public works board, they're there because they all have expertise and they add value to that field. The environmental sustainability board adds value because we know the laws. We keep up with advancements in the field. Will they be able to do that? Will they be able to put that on their plate as well? I can't be the only one who sees there are no redundancies here. If you must, at the end of the day, and you pass recommendation number 5, I ask, and I don't know if you can do this or not, maybe the city clerk can let us know, but I ask that you consider placing an environmental advisory committee within that public works board so they can advise. They can then tell them, hey, these are the issues and this is how it's handled. We have experts on the environmental board. We have environmental scientists, geologists, chemists, professors, and this board would love to continue to help the city here in Huntington Beach. So let us do that. Don't disband this 44-year-old board, and I advise you to please vote no on recommendation number 5. Thank you.
Thank you for being here. Thank you, sir. Next speaker, thanks for being here.
Hello, I'm Nora Peterson. I'm here to talk about the Human Relations Commission and their Human Dignity Statement. It represents all of us in Huntington Beach. Our democracy depends on dignity, fairness, and justice. This year, more than any other year of my 36 years in Huntington Beach, we need the commission and that statement as written. Our city is under attack from a small faction determined to destroy the housing of vulnerable people living in mobile homes. They're out to affect the freedom of individuals and the parents of children to read in our libraries. And most frightening is the invitation to the extremist group Mothers for Liberty to start a chapter in our city with the goals to shut libraries, undermine public schools, and avert parents from vaccinating their children against measles, polio, and other very serious diseases. Please protect the Human Rights Commission for the good of the people of Huntington Beach, and the statement of dignity is for all of us. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Next speaker, thanks for being here.
Yeah, my name is Bud Benneman. I'm a resident of Huntington Beach, a professor of geology at Golden West College. I'm a member of the Environmental Board, also a member of Surfrider Foundation. This board is really important because we have a lot of issues that are up and coming within the environmental parameter. And this board consists of professionals that actually work in the field and are dedicating their time and opinions. And basically, you have a gift right there of professionals, and to disband this board would basically just be throwing away a great gift. And I encourage you or ask you to maybe table this item and to reconsider it, especially with the environmental aspect. I do applaud a lot of things you have done. I certainly support you standing up to Gruesome Newsom and keeping them from putting these ADUs in our backyards, the additional dwelling units. I have one right next door to my house that is a concrete jungle, and then a place next to that is also a concrete jungle. These are creating heat islands. Heat islands are contributing to climate change. Climate change is occurring. I'm a Republican. I vote Republican. and I'll vote Republican again. But at the same time, I have to depart from the Republicans because I do believe that climate is occurring, that there's an anthropogenic aspect to it, and there are aspects right here in Huntington Beach that we can help curtail, that we need to change. And the high-density development certainly is going to help and create more warm environments and therefore act as a positive feedback loop. So I remember when you guys ran, I voted for you. I remember voting against all those proposed changes to streamline government. And to me, this proposal here basically is what we voted against. And now we're just bringing it back again. And I think it's almost hypocritical in a lot of ways. So I ask you to table this and to really reconsider it, and especially with respects to the Environmental Committee. Thank you.
Thank you so much for being here. Thank you. Next speaker, thanks for being here.
My name is Debbie Parrott, and I'm a previous vice chair and current member of the HB Human Relations Committee, but I speak as a citizen today. I want to address item 27. The city's Human Relations Committee was created after the murder of a black man by skinheads, but as noted by many, it does so much more than help address hate crimes. Dissolving this committee shows that the values of safety for all, understanding and honoring one another despite differences, hearing all voices, and building relationships between the community and the police department are not priorities. As with the removal of the pride flag from city grounds, getting rid of the HBHRC will further hurt our city's tourism sector and have financial consequences. It amplifies the public perception that Huntington Beach is not a safe, modern, forward-thinking destination. A justification for dissolution has been that county-level programs duplicate its efforts, but this couldn't be further from the truth. This council knows that local control allows for an understanding of community needs, and that's what this committee does. It tailors events to the issues and needs of our city and customizes things. The county-level Human Relations Commission has no interaction with HBHRC and don't have any kind of understanding of what works here in Huntington Beach. Another reason given for dissolution is that to offset the increase in police salaries, cuts need to be made. HBHRC uses a relatively low amount of city staff time, and the members are mindful of this in all endeavors. Other groups that use more staff time aren't being cut. It doesn't make sense. The annual community summits, town halls, dialogue circles, and the Cultural Film Festival bring city leaders and citizens together to hear each other's stories and bring about a sense of understanding and empathy in a greatly polarized time. There's been a recent uptick in hate incidents, particularly toward our LGBTQ+ community. Business owners have faced intimidation for being proud of their identity. My own mom in South HB had her pride flag shredded on her property. And even at Huntington High School this spring, a student ran around destroying pride flags in classrooms. While these things may seem superficial to some, they are indicative of an emboldening of individuals that seek to harm others. This does not represent the quality of life that all people of Huntington Beach look forward to. Mayor Pro Tem Vandermark suggested that the HBHRC could continue their work without being associated with the city, but that notion is unrealistic. Having this entity operate outside the city structure would require full-time dedication in order to revamp and rebuild infrastructure that has already been in existence for over 25 years. It also underestimates the relationships that the current committee has with other city departments, such as the police department. This committee should be celebrated rather than becoming political collateral damage. This council would do well to start building bridges rather than to keep burning them down.
Thank you for being here. Thank you. Next speaker, thanks so much for being here.
My name is Jeff Rokas. I've lived in Huntington Beach over 25 years, and I've never seen such a brazen disregard for the greater good of the city's residents by a conservative majority city council. We've had many of those types of councils during my time here, but none calling themselves the HB Mafia. I guess we'll let the courts determine if their actions rise to the level of corruption, but the city history has shown it's always the real Republicans who end up behind bars, not the progressive members of the council. This current council has spent the first 7 months in office bowing to special interests and instituting so-called anti-woke measures. What about solving some of the city's problems? Now they want to vote on changes to the city charter that the mayor and his hand-picked colleagues have come up with after taking all of a month or two reviewing this complex document. How this charter review ad hoc committee chose the citizen-led boards, commissions, and committees they propose to eliminate comes as no surprise. They are purging their opposition and those who do not conform to their narrow-minded belief system. And they are rewarding their financial supporters, including mobile home park owners. But what should be of greater concern to everyone are the proposals of the review committee numbered 5, 6, and 7. While 5 and 6 are simply veiled measures they will use to force our beloved clerk Robin into retirement and install the city attorney's wife as the new city clerk, it is Proposal 7 that I find to be the most outrageous. Proposal 7, concerning Section 702 of the Charter, recommends, and I quote, remove exclusive reliance on state election codes for all aspects of elections. Add that for municipal elections, the city will maintain control over ID provisions for resident verification, provide 12 polling locations throughout the city for in-person voting, and provide that the city will require for monitoring ballot drop boxes. Does this sound like voter suppression to anyone else? Yes. I know our current council majority has real animosity towards the California state government, but that doesn't mean you can turn our fine city into Florida. If voters have to meet your yet to be stated ID requirements and travel to vote in person as the only option, you will be disenfranchising voters of all types, probably even many who voted for you, all in the name of local control. I'm a volunteer driver for the city's home delivered meals program, where clients are typically housebound. How will they get to vote? What about the additional money the city will have to spend to run their own elections, not to mention the legal costs associated with fighting the inevitable lawsuits over this short-sighted proposal? And please tell me why the election system that you put in office is now so unsatisfactory that we need to take local control. The irony here is that the county majority is comprised of some people who are willing to waste taxpayers' money. Now they want to steal your vote. Don't let it happen. Vote no on the amendment.
Thank you. Thank you. Next speaker, thanks so much for being here.
My name is Colin Parrott, and I am normally a very civil person. The fact that I have to preface my speech with that means something is already seriously wrong. Yet I cannot help but stand here for what is now the second time in front of this city council to speak my mind about recent events. They have shown a blatant disregard and disrespect for the way things work in this city, the very same old days that they themselves seem to cling to in their rhetoric about it. First came the active removal and censorship of flags, disguised under making flags unbiased, actively harming both the city's commerce and their reputation. Now they have the gall to censor books they see as pushing an agenda after so clearly pushing their own, and dissolve and restructure committees as they see fit, including the dissolution of the Huntington Beach Human Relations Committee because it is not necessary. While I can only speculate on this, it may be their refusal to admit the existence of white privilege that motivates this decision. It cannot, however, be for the stated purpose of budget balance, since the committee certainly takes up far less resources than the raises they gave to the police and fire department. In addition, there were certainly more staff-intensive boards and commissions which were just as necessary as the HBHRC. Either way, if they need to eliminate unnecessary bodies because it's too much for them to go to all the meetings, which I saw firsthand as they failed to show up to several of the youth board meetings, which I used to be a part of, perhaps they should not have appointed themselves as the liaison of every board and committee in a clear play to eliminate the minority of the council's influence on their actions. And all of this from the party of small government. Their committee restructuring also includes the limiting of the youth board to working on Youth and Government Day and making them a non-Brown Act entity, meaning they cannot learn how city government works since they don't follow the same rules. Gracie, who so pushes youth participation in government, this seems extremely hypocritical. As a former member of the youth board, I see this as an attack on the level of control we had as a board. Now, I cannot fathom why you did this, except for the fact that we brought up an issue with the flag legislation and criticized you during a meeting for it. Not only did you shut down our conversation, saying there was no chance of negotiation when we asked you point blank, a very anti-democratic approach to politics, but you involved non sequiturs, including but not limited to Pat mentioning gay family members, Gracie mentioning her being featured in Orange County's Scariest People, and most egregiously, Gracie calling herself, and I quote, a victim of affirmative action. We did not intend to attack their character going into this meeting, but instead critique their policy. But they seemed to take it personally, despite being uncaring about others' feelings themselves. At one point, a member of the board was on the verge of tears, telling the story of their transgender sibling not feeling safe in the city. And council members Vandermark and Burns, who were present, not only ignored it, but continued to argue. In fact, the board was so demoralized after this meeting that they struggled for many months to reach a quorum.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker, thanks so much for being here.
My name is Gary Miller, and I've been a resident, homeowner, and taxpayer of Huntington Beach since 1985. I love this city and appreciate the hard work that my city council members do to make it a great place to live. My wife and I have recently been annoyed and concerned about our safety due to the infractions occurring on the pier. Bicycles, electric bikes, skateboards, electric scooters, dog off leashes, etc. There have been several near misses. I have never seen an officer give a ticket. One evening I counted 9 infractions on the pier in less than 1.5 hours. The situation, as well as the increased use of electric bikes, is beginning to lower our quality of life in Huntington Beach. It is becoming a high-profile safety issue in the community, as indicated in the next door social media site. I am so annoyed by the near misses and disregard that the kids have for the rules. My wife will no longer walk on the pier because of this issue. Why do the rule breakers win and the voting residents lose? I have talked to police downtown who have told me that they stop the kids to talk to them. One officer said he knows they will continue once the violator is out of sight. I know the police try to be good community relations people, as demonstrated by Chief Power's example, which is commendable and I support, but not at the expense of safety to the residents. I also know that we are down approximately 30 sworn officers in the city, so the police are spread thin. However, if and when an officer sees a minor infraction on the pier, I request that the offender be given a ticket. It's time to make people responsible and accountable for their actions, with the police giving violators tickets instead of warnings in order to protect the people who follow the rules. Please encourage the police to write tickets for these infractions. Electric bikes are getting to be out of control. One night while the pedestrian crosswalk was on at the corner of PCH and Main, 6 bikes ran the red light at PCH and did wheelies right through the middle of the pedestrians, missing my wife by inches. They're not like licensed motorcycles with licensed drivers, but still need to follow the rules of the road. If they can be caught, tickets need to be issued for driving violations. Please take care of us residents regarding these safety issues. I attended 2 council meetings the past couple of months in which the council unanimously agreed that safety is the #1 priority in the city. One more time, I thank the city council members for the hard work that you do and the many hours you devote to making Huntington Beach a great place to live.
Thank you for being here, sir. Thank you. Next speaker, thanks for being here.
Good evening. My name is Vanessa Chow, and I'm the Vice Chair of the Human Relations Committee. VC Roan, our chair, is unable to be here today due to unavoidable work conflict, but understands the severity of many of tonight's agenda items. I am here in her place to address one of those items. Although we are both members and officers of the committee, the words offered tonight represent our own as concerned citizens. The committee met with the council liaisons on April 14 to discuss their goals and concerns for Huntington Beach. At that time, they indicated that safety was their #1 issue. During a follow-up meeting on July 6, the committee presented a proposal to address safety in the community. During the meeting, they revealed the group that uses the most staff resources, not the Human Relations Committee, yet that group is not on this list to be dissolved. During the July 6 meeting, one of the liaisons also said that the committee does much more than just track hate crimes and reports. During the committee meeting on July 18, the liaisons were present at the HB Police reported a significant number of hate crimes and incidents. On July 12, the committee was asked by HB Police to help create programs for youth to address the major concerns in hopes of educating families on hate crime prevention. It also should be noted that on July 11, Huntington Beach has already seen double the amount of hate crimes and incidents than in previous year alone. On July 27, just 3 weeks after hearing the police's report on hate crimes and incidents and proposing safety programs to the council liaisons, and while their staff liaison was on vacation, the committee discovered through a public posting that their committee was being put up for disillusionment due to the redundancy of programs and the staff utilization. There are 2 different organizations that have been referenced: Orange County Human Relations Commission and Groundswell, formerly known as OCHR. The committee reinstates that these two are two completely different organizations. With one, the committee has had no contact ever. With the other, only one event has ever been hosted this year. The HRC's programs are custom tailored for the specific needs of Huntington Beach and have been featured on the Los Angeles Times. Notably, their Culture Cinema Showcase has received over 3,000 films to date, with a portion of these films being shown throughout the year on HBTV. The Huntington Beach Human Relations Committee is the flagship committee to many other cities who later formed their own HRCs modeling this particular HRCs. Other cities often call for advice or to simply model what is being done here. How can this council allow that legacy to end on their watch? I urge you to reconsider this item and reverse course on the elimination of this committee that has worked successfully with many of the departments over 25 years.
10 seconds.
It is generally understood that budget cuts are difficult. Everyone can agree to that. What is not understood is how can this committee, who has worked with so many police departments, with the chief of police and the council, and it's to help its residents, can be dissolved.
Thank you for being here. Thank you. Next speaker. Next speaker, thanks for being here.
What's up, Council? My name is Eric Silkinson, and I'm a 51-year resident of Huntington Beach. That's 51-year resident. And by coincidence, I am also the chairman of the Mobile Home Advisory Board. So I'm just here to say, see you guys later. I'm not here to beg for my job. I literally did it to just try to help out Huntington Beach and get some experience in city government. So I thought it would be kind of cool, but I guess it is it's deemed not important, which is unfortunate because it's weird. As my colleagues know me over there, I voted to not support rent stabilization, much to their chagrin. So, it is. There are some center-left and center-right people still in this city. But I do want to give a shout-out, and he took a pause, but Travis and Grace, who I think is out of the country, thank you so much for all the work you did for us, which actually wasn't much, so you could probably keep on doing it, but okay, it's fine. Also, I would like to address someone in the crowd. I don't know if he's looking up here, and I apologize if I'm mispronouncing your name, Jignesh? Okay, so I heard when you were making your comments, you talked about majority, minority. I ran for city council in 2020. I was under the impression it was a nonpartisan office. I speak, I think, I really just speak for the people I hang out with, my friends, but we're pretty bummed that this has become this big partisan thing in this city. It's kind of sad. And we can do left and right, it's fine, but what are we doing about Main Street? I don't need to hear about books. I don't need to hear about charter amendments. What are we doing about Main Street? That's a nonpartisan issue. Can we focus on that? By the way, thanks, Casey, for talking about banning and the roundabout and those things. Yes, I have a friend who lives over there. They're going to be stoked. Last thing I would like to say is I'm a new teacher. I became a teacher about 4 years ago, did a career change. The amount of certifications, fingerprinting, the things that teachers have been getting a bad rap lately, the amount of hoops you have to go through, and it should be that way, to be a teacher is unbelievable. So when I hear about an ordinance that is going to lower standards for anything, I'm against it. You guys worry, are we grooming your kids? No, let's raise standards. When I ran for city council, our city clerk was super helpful. She was very nice. She was awesome. So why don't we keep those standards high? I'm shocked, and I guess it just doesn't matter, of how you disregard the optics. Optics. It's not about, and maybe City Attorney Gates will back me up, it's not about impropriety, it's about the appearance of impropriety. Oh, sorry, you didn't give me the 10 seconds.
I'm sorry.
But thank you, Mayor. It's okay.
I was writing
All right.
notes, so thank you.
Oh,
thank you.
Thank you.
Next speaker, thanks so much for being here.
My pleasure. Good evening, council members. I am former Mayor Kim Carr. It's a pleasure to be here tonight.
What?
All good.
Interesting on that.
Nothing but love in HB. There's so much that has been said tonight about the charter review amendments, which I won't go into, but you will find no better city clerk than Robin Stanislaw. It's a true privilege, and Robin, if they do make these charter amendments, we're going to insist that you run again, and if you don't, then I guess Kelly Gates will have a competitor because I will throw my hat into the ring. But nevertheless, the elimination of the boards and the commissions, and I would like to say that when I was on the city council, I did everything that I could to restore the Mobile Home Advisory Board because they had not been meeting on a regular basis due to a lack of quorum. And the Human Relations Committee, as we've been told over time and time again here, does nothing but good work in this community. It would be a travesty to eliminate that. And then, of course, the revision to the policy on human dignity, which was written by the amazing Shirley Detloff and Mayor Ralph Bauer. If it's not broken, don't fix it. Again, all of these things, it's nothing just a power grab, and people say, why are they doing it? It's because they can. And that's really a shame. And as much as I would like to talk about the air show and the incredible settlement that 4 of you decided to do, well, I'm not settling. I'm actually fighting for our city, and I look forward to my day in court. You know, there's a great saying that lawyers say, if you're guilty, you stall and delay and do everything you can to not have your day in court. Well, I was looking forward to my July 17th hearing until Kevin Elliott decided to do a last-minute amendment. So you think about that one. Nevertheless, what I'm here to talk about tonight is agenda item number 6, the city attorney's report, the PowerPoint presentation that he put together. There are so many errors in this PowerPoint presentation that I highly recommend that folks take a look at this and scrutinize it. Take a look at the letter from RWG. One of the things that this PowerPoint presentation feels more like an attack on Dan Kalmick than what it really was. The city council that I was part of both in 2018 and 2020, the reason why there was an investigation into the settlement was because the city had already invested $1.7 million in legal fees. And then we had been presented a settlement of $2.5 million. When it looked that we could not win this case, that's when we decided to settle. It wasn't an attack on Mr. Gates. Looking into the investigation was merely a, were we overcharged?
Thank
and
you.
the answer was, you know what?
Thank you.
You guys, I love you. Thank you, honey.
Thanks for being here.
Thank
you for being here. Thank you. Next speaker. Next speaker. Thanks for being here.
Good evening, Mayor and City Council. My name is Tim Geddes, a 40-year resident. One of the favorite utterances of former President Donald Trump is the word disgrace. He uses it to describe anything he doesn't like or that goes against his wishes. This includes people, policies, actions, and events. What the City Council majority is proposing for Agenda Item 27 and the dissolution of the city's Mobile Home Advisory Board is a disgrace. For over a quarter of a century, the Mobile Home Advisory Board has been a sounding board for the mobile home community to bring issues and concerns to the full City Council, which can act through its own ordinances and policies to affect manufactured housing in our city. This has nothing to do with the state and HCD, which is primarily interested in safety and health issues at mobile home parks and not the financial, economic, or social well-being of the residents. The contention that, quote, any conflict resolution issues between mobile home owners and park owners could be directed to HCD for regulation is flat out wrong and is disingenuous as well. So is the contention that city staff can also connect residents to appropriate city and community services. Ha! That completely misrepresents what staff is and has been doing. This is a disgrace, and I am sure 3 council members would agree. Certainly, thousands of manufactured housing homeowners and residents would agree, as you've seen earlier this evening. The City Council majority is supposedly acting on the recommendation of the ad hoc committee, which it completely controls. This is a farce of the first order. Let me tell you a couple of underlying facts which have been repeated by others. The park owners and their allies, principally industry groups like MET and WMA, have funneled many thousands of dollars in campaign contributions and support to the city council, the council majority members. In turn, the council majority has appointed its own members as council liaisons and has stuffed vacancies on the board with its own political puppets. It has rebuffed every effort of the mobile home community to address its concerns and has turned a blind eye and a deaf ear to the abuses of the corporate-owned park owners. Their special interest supporters have heaped on its vulnerable residents. This is also a disgrace. As a past chair of the Mobile Home Advisory Board, I am outraged that this council majority is betraying the best interests of the mobile home community, your constituents, and the entire citizenry. Disgrace is actually not too strong a word, but it fits.
Thanks for being here. Thank you. Next speaker. Next speaker, thanks for being here.
Yeah, you're welcome. Michael Gates, City Attorney. Candidate for re-election in 2026. Obviously, I wasn't planning to speak tonight, and I could have chosen to speak later when council deliberated, but I thought in terms of organization for the meeting, I didn't want to be disruptive, but I did want to address a couple comments that our esteemed clerk, Robin Stanislaw, made earlier. I trust she's a great clerk. The proposed charter changes is, and you can tell me if I'm wrong, but they're not to oust anybody, and I'll get to that in a second. The only reason, and I went to Robin as a courtesy to let you know that my wife is considering running, and I took you aside and did it privately to let you know my wife is considering running because so many people have asked her to run, like three other candidates, including 2 of high-profile status in the community. So that's now 4 who are considering running. My inquiries to Joan about the educational requirements was actually for a different candidate at a different time, had nothing to do with my wife. And the only reason we now have 4 candidates or more, 4 that I know of, or more considering running for clerk, is because Robin for the past 2 years has been telling everybody who will listen that this is her last term. So this is going to be a brand new open seat election, at least as far as she was telling people before. And I find it really discouraging, frankly, Robin, that our top elections official would come to the podium and shame and out somebody, and yes, it's my wife, but out her when she hasn't even decided to run. She hasn't even pulled papers, yet you're out here publicly shaming her. You're our top elections official. It's very anti-democratic and very protectionist of you. In fact, it's so protectionist, ladies and gentlemen, for context. We haven't had a newly elected clerk in decades. We have not had a newly elected clerk in decades. They've all been appointed and they've run for re-election. So, yes, my wife is considering running. Yes, I candidly told you the thought process just to let you know so you weren't blindsided by somebody else telling you. I thought it was a courtesy. And I find it utterly shameful that you would come to the podium and essentially out her. As far as conflict of interest is concerned, lawyers make decisions about conflicts of interest. I find it notable that for the past 3 years, critics of the city attorney have thrown out that word liberally, conflict of interest, over and over and over and over and over when they don't like what's going on. Well, you know what? None of this is a conflict of interest.
10 seconds.
And I'm going to tell you, it's going to show up in my presentation tonight. By the way, Ms. Carr should note that for a loser case, she voted for 2 years to defend it and take it to trial. 2 years.
Thank you.
She voted to take it to trial.
Thanks for being here. Thank you. Thank you. Madam Clerk, we have more speakers?
Of course, we do.
Okay.
The next speakers, Linda Moon, Donna Lee Taylor, Peggy Willett, Catherine Goddard, Todd Harkness. I'm sorry about that. Todd Harkness. Sharon Peterson, Carol Dawes, Amory Hanson, Ken Inouye.
Thank you. Thank you for being here. Please proceed.
I'm Linda Moon, and I'm a 49-year resident of Huntington Beach. And I'm speaking tonight in regard to item number 28, the proposed charter revisions. The newly elected council members all ran for election on a platform of increased transparency and listening to the voices of the community. It appears, however, that you are attempting to take every action possible to stifle the voices of the community, reduce transparency, and assume absolute authoritarian control. Charter revision elections in Huntington Beach have for decades followed a procedure allowing broad public participation. Charter review committees of knowledgeable residents have been formed, staff background assistance has been provided, and the public has been given multiple opportunities to provide feedback before recommendations are submitted to the council and advertised for public hearing. Instead of following this well-honed and honored process, you formed an ad hoc committee of 3 inexperienced council members to propose amendments intended only to further their own political positions. No public input was sought by the ad hoc committee, and it appears that none is desired. Of greatest concern is proposal number 7, which, if enacted, would allow the City Council to take control of all aspects of city elections, removing any authority of the State Elections Code. While I don't believe this is even legally permissible, it is obviously is an attempt at voter suppression and intimidation. The State Elections Code was enacted to safeguard elections and allow voters unimpeded opportunity to participate in the voting process. It protects the keystone of our democracy. Placing the elections into the exclusive control of the city opens the process to fraud and corruption. Proposal number 6, reducing the education, training, and certification requirements of the city clerk, is outrageous and obviously intended to smooth the path for the candidacy of specific unqualified residents. It is especially absurd in light of the proposal to take over control of elections. The last thing we need is an inexperienced, untrained city clerk managing the elections. Proposal number 5, to move the city clerk and city treasurer elections to coincide with the gubernatorial election, is obviously intended to reduce participation in that election. No other justification has been provided. Proposal number 4, to change the annual budgeting proposal to biannual as opposed to annual, has not been justified and appears irresponsible. Proposal number 2, allowing the cancellation of city council meetings by majority vote of the council or when there's not a quorum, is another attempt to
Your time is up.
Please reconsider these proposals. Excuse
Your
me?
time's up.
I was not given a 10-second warning.
Thank you, Linda.
Hi. Thank you. I'm Donna Lee Taylor, and I'm going to cut my speech short because everybody has almost all covered this. So I think the only thing I want to say is that I moved into our mobile home 35 years ago because my husband was a director of Mattel and he had to work in the Asian area getting people to make their products. So we needed a place where we could just shut the door and go. And it's been wonderful, and I've loved every minute of it. I was an adult instructor for Huntington Beach and worked with patients in the Alzheimer's Family Center in Indianapolis. And I started the line dance programs in Huntington Beach and Fountain Valley and taught in Westminster for about 18 years, and I'm still dancing. And I'm going to be 92 this month. Luckily, still dancing. And I want to remind you that all the people that I know from our mobile home are so talented, so educated, so special. And I hate for them that their last years, they're worried about each other and worried about themselves. Please help them.
Thank you. Next speaker. Thanks for being here.
My name is Peggy Willett, and this will be a softball. I've only lived here a few years in Huntington Beach, and I'm even newer to mobile home living. I took care of a Marine vet, a Vietnam vet, for 16 years of our marriage, which only lasted that long because he didn't make it with severe PTSD. So then after that issue happened, I took care of my parents till both of them passed for about 11 years, and now I'm trying to take care of me. So what I'm trying to do is, I feel like the baby boomers are a responsible generation, and I'm trying to be responsible and take care of myself. And I've been able to do so. The mobile home situation has helped. We grandmas and grandpas are still very active and very helpful to the community, working with grandkids, schools, and whatsoever. So the only thing I would ask is that you support us as we still continue to support ourselves best we can in our sunset years. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thanks for being here. Thanks, Speaker. Thank you so much for being here.
My name is Sharon Peterson, and I'm a 30-year resident of Huntington Beach and live in a mobile home. Mayor Strickland and members of the council, I have a confession to make. I'm a political junkie. I watch the TV news, read the newspapers, read your websites. I actually read the flyers that you plug in our doorsteps before the election. I trust that candidates say what they mean and mean what they say. Hidden in tonight's agenda, 27 and 28, are proposals to eliminate some things that affect me personally. The Mobile Home Advisory Board, the Human Relations Committee, on which I have served at the Orange County, and to make major changes to election. That scares me to death. And all this with 3 days' notice. Now, this may come as a surprise to you. Get your cell phones out. Did you know that Huntington Beach has a transparency website? Yep, they do. It's called Open OC. Look it up on your cell phone. It's dedicated to transparency in our city operations and states clearly that as a city, we value honesty, integrity, and openness. What a concept. So in the spirit of openness, I'd like to look at these 3 hidden proposals. First, to eliminate the Mobile Home Advisory Board. Others have spoken passionately about this. It's functioned successfully for 27 years. As Jimmy Carter once quoted an old Georgia farmer, and someone mentioned it earlier, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. Next, the Human Relations Committee. When you were candidates for office, several members of this city council made important statements to our vision for Huntington Beach. Mayor Strickland, you called yourself a public safety advocate. Casey, you said you were committed to safety and priority in our communities and our neighborhoods. Pat Burns, you said you were committed to provide owners and business owners a safe community. And Casey Vanderbar called herself a public safety advocate. So what happened? In fact, I even have the brochure. Did you change your minds after you were elected to the council? Why would you even consider eliminating a committee that was established by the city council more than 30 years ago and dedicated to the safety of this community? It says everyone should be treated with courtesy. And of all of this, of all of the committees, that people would not be physically harmed or verbally abused. And this is the committee you want to eliminate? What are you thinking? Finally, there's a proposal to change election procedures and to add more local control over city elections. Mayor Strickland, you were quoted in the paper as saying, now the city's still going through the details. Just trust us. Really?
10 seconds.
Mayor Strickland, I look to Ronald Reagan, who famously said, trust but verify. How do we know what these details are going to be? I just ask you to remember Churchill. We're voices, we're going to be heard, and as he said, we will never give up.
Thank you. Thanks for being here. Thank you. Thanks, Speaker. Thanks so much for being here.
Hi, my name's Todd Harkness. I'm a building contractor, and I'm here to ask for some changes in the inspection processes within the city. They're not actually allowing for an inspection within 8 days for a re-roof. With the average house being over $1 million now, there's huge liabilities for us contractors on the line, and we can't just have these open roofs sit while the city doesn't want to come out and do the inspections that we paid for. So what I'm asking is if, since the city building department doesn't want to address this, I'm bringing it here to you to look into this. And what I'm asking for is if the city can't come out and do the inspections within a day or two, which is a reasonable amount of time, not 8 days, due to weather conditions, this not being very feasible for us to have these jobs open this long, that possibly we outsource this to, another entity. And that's all I really have to say.
Sir, you might want to grab a blue card from the gentleman over here and fill out your information so we can follow up on that item. Okay. Thank you. Thank you. Next speaker, thank you so much for being here.
Hello, I'm Catherine Goddard. I've been in Huntington Beach since the 1980s, and I'm curious as to what's going on here. I see as a problem in I see that since this council has been seated, we've seen more and more chaos than I've ever seen in the council chambers, and it seems to me that tonight brings a lot of this to head. The fact that it appears that a few people have brought forward several things that fundamentally change the way a democracy operates is a cause for concern to me. The greatest issue I see is the issue of changing the elections to be something that is controlled locally and by a changing cast of people, apparently, that might sit on the council, and with different regulations and different voting places, and as much as I can tell from reading what is now in the agenda for tonight. And the other part is the committees and commissions, which have historically been a way for people to become involved in this city and to understand how the city operates and to then vote and then to rise to the level of going for a council seat. The issue underlying all of this seems to me to be a lack of transparency, which means that by not having open meetings, by having meetings that seem to be controlled by very few people, and not allowing us to speak to committees and subcommittees, you get what happens tonight, with people carrying on and then getting to a level of emotion that erupts, so nothing really happens. So I'm concerned and ask you to, in particular, to take item 27 and 28 off the agenda, provide an opportunity for open meetings and discussion, allow people to participate. That is the very basis of the democracy, and inform us so we can do what needs to be done for the greater good of the city. Thank you.
Thanks for being here. Thank you. Next speaker, thanks so much for being here.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. My name is Mr. Amory Hanson. I'm speaking tonight in support of item 12, the plaque in memory of the Honorable Donald McAllister. This plaque recognizes Mayor McAllister not just for his free terms on the City Council and his time being mayor of Huntington Beach, but for his continued presence and legacy in a number of ways. I had the great privilege to know Mayor McAllister and believe this plaque is an appropriate recognition of his service. The pier setting is particularly appropriate. Given Mayor McAllister's association with surfing, it would be particularly fitting for the City Council to approve this plaque the day before the Surfing Walk of Fame induction ceremony. Maybe even the day of. Huntington Beach can continue to honor Mayor McAllister in other ways. One aspect of Mayor McAllister's legacy that is occasionally overlooked is his work for the sister city relationship between Anjo and Huntington Beach. I was very pleased to hear that a delegation from Anjo visited the city this year and met with the mayor. I hope that the mayor will soon be making a return visit to Anjo, and I look forward to doing so myself. I urge the council to honor Mayor McAllister by supporting this plaque. Once again, I urge a yes vote on item 12. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Next speaker, thanks so much for being here.
Pardon me.
Thank you for being here.
Mayor Strickland and members of the City Council, 27 years ago, the Huntington Beach City Council established the Mobile Home Advisory Board to avoid the lack of communication here. The city wanted to assure that the mobile home residents, park owners, and the City Council would be able to discuss issues and resolve problems, to communicate with each other. So they would not end up in court, because this favors nobody, and it certainly is expensive for everybody. For 27 years, this has worked. Residents have been able to discuss park maintenance, rent increases, eviction notices, and health and safety issues. Now, suddenly, the City Council has decided to eliminate this board. Why? Well, let's take a look at this. 3 members of the City Council met in secret at an ad hoc committee. They decided to disband at least 3 council boards and committees. No discussion, no debate, just announced it 3 days before the next City Council meeting when the agenda was published. And what's more, no reason was given. There are at least 3 reasons they might have given. 1, cost and finances? No. The MHAB has no budget and does not cost the city a single penny. 2, salaries? Again, no. All members of the MHAB are volunteers. 3, too many meetings? Nope. They only meet 4 times a year. So I have to ask, why would the City Council want to eliminate and disband this board? It's a cynical way to silence the voices of 3,000 mobile residents that you are elected to serve and represent. These mobile home residents include many seniors, veterans, disabled people, and low-income families who find a mobile home provides safe, affordable housing. For some, it prevents them from becoming homeless. Unofficially, the council has told someone that HCD, the California State Housing Agency, can take over. Really? There are 5,231 mobile home parks in California, a total of 1.6 million mobile home park residents. If you think the lines are long at the DMV, just think how long you'll have to wait in line to bring an issue to the State Housing and Community Development Office. 4 members of this council, you know who you are, ran on a platform of local control. So, why are they doing the opposite in regard to mobile homes?
10 seconds.
Mobile home residents have a voice, and we have a vote. We simply cannot allow the City Council to take this action. We need Huntington Beach Park residents, Huntington Beach members.
Thank you. Thank you. Thanks so much for being here. Thank you. Thank you. Next speaker, thanks so much for being here.
Mayor Strickland and honorable members of the City Council, my name is Kenny Noboy. I'm a 52-year resident of Huntington Beach. Approximately 30 years ago, there was a series of hate crimes that occurred in our wonderful city, which included the killing of an African-American man in a restaurant on the Beach Boulevard and the near-fatal stabbing of a Native American man on the Huntington Beach Pier. In order to protect the citizens of our great city, Mayor Shirley Detloff and the late, great Ralph Bauer moved to create the Huntington Beach Human Relations Task Force. This city task force was established as a way to galvanize the community against future hate crimes and has been recognized throughout the entire state as a major public safety program which has been replicated by cities throughout the state of California. Today, many years later, the city has once again experienced an alarming increase in the number of hate crimes in the city. At this crucial time, it is imperative for the Huntington Beach City Council to reaffirm its stand against hatred of all types and reaffirm its support of the Huntington Beach Human Relations Committee. History and experience has shown that the existence of a Human Relations Committee within a jurisdiction is a major method of promoting public safety. I would also encourage the City Council to continue its support of the very important Mobile Home Advisory Board, which provides you very valuable input with respect to matters affecting the very important mobile home community in our city. I would like to close my comments in loving memory of my very dear friend and colleague, Mr. Fred Provencher. Some of you will remember Fred as being one of the founding members of the Huntington Beach Task Force. He was also the genius behind the Huntington Beach Reads One Book program. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Madam Clerk, do we have more speakers?
Yes, we do. Lana Fossum, Patty Wilson,
Joanna A.Q., Kane Durham, B. Chanel, Kathy McGuire, Libby, Russ Neal, Nick McLaughlin, Marilyn Boehm.
Point of inquiry, Madam Clerk, how many after that list do we still have left? How many?
Sorry, about another list of 10.
Okay.
So we're
thank
at
you.
20, I think.
Okay. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you. Good evening. My name is Kathy McGuire, and I'm a resident of Huntington Beach for 32 years. And for some reason, every time I come down here, you inspire me to write a poem. So I have a poem for you tonight for us. It's called City or Community. We all have something in common. We all live in Huntington Beach. But what is Huntington Beach? Is it just a city, or is it a community? A city is an inhabited place larger than a town. Inhabit, to be present in. Are we just a bunch of people who happen to be present in the same place? People who shop at the same stores, go to the same beaches, check out books at the same libraries, get gas at the same gas stations. People who are there, but not really connected. Are we no more than that? Or are we a community, a united body of individuals living in a particular place, people with common interests? Don't we all have a common interest in our city services, our sports teams, our art, music, and culture, our parks and community centers, our beaches and pier, our parade, our neighborhoods, our relationship to one another? As city leaders, you set the direction, the policies, and the funding. Will it be for one group over another? Will it be for policies that divide us? Will it be in the direction of listening to other points of view and seeking consensus? Your attitude and decisions point the way. Are we just a city, or are we a community? The role of the Human Relations Commission and the Mobile Home Commission is to build our community. So I urge you to keep the commissions. Thank you.
Thanks for being here. Thank you. Next speaker, thanks for being here.
Good evening, Mayor Strickland and council members. My name is Russell Neal, and I live in Huntington Beach. I'd like to speak about agenda items 27, 28, and 29. I support the proposed charter amendments, but especially the one dealing with election integrity. Confidence in our elections has been shaken and needs to be restored. It is not incumbent on the citizen to put their faith in sketchy voting arrangements. It is incumbent on governing bodies to create transparent, foolproof procedures to win back the trust of citizens. I support the consolidation of committees, including the cancellation of the Human Relations Committee. This one-sided committee manufactures statistics to justify its own existence and to maintain a false and damaging narrative about our city. It is an advocacy organization, and as such should be private. Government should not lobby itself. Similarly, the declaration of policy on human dignity should be canceled rather than being amended. It conflates hate crimes with hate speech in an effort to criminalize speech with which the authors disagree. Furthermore, the tactic of labeling anyone who disagrees with you as haters and racists has itself the effect of provoking hatred, even murderous hatred. Examples of this include the 2012 attempted mass murder at the Family Research Council, incited by the Southern Poverty Law Center's hate map, and the 2017 attempted slaughter of the entire Republican congressional baseball team, to say nothing of the similar targeting of our own Mayor Pro Tem that goes on in these very chambers. This hypocritical, self-righteous document is insufferable. It is beyond amending. I urge this council to do away with it altogether. Thank you.
Thank you so much for being here. Thank you. Next speaker, thanks for being here.
Hi, I'm Kane Durham. I wonder if I should start bringing a PVC pipe to these meetings so we can play limbo, since the far-right majority on this board seems so interested in seeing how low they can go. I'd like to speak on so many issues tonight, but there's only just so much insanity on the agenda, so I'll try to narrow it down. The Mobile Home Advisory Committee, as an organization, stands for citizens of this city who are part of your constituency. I can't think of any good reason for silencing that voice other than perhaps yet more grift. The Human Rights Committee, on that matter, also stands for your constituency, whether you'd like it to or not. If you listen to the lemmings that are following our far-right majority off the cliff, the Human Rights Committee, quote, should never have existed, was, quote, based on lies, and is a, quote, cancer. These are direct quotes, by the way. The idea that anyone believes human rights are a cancer should be stunning and horrifying, but I'm pretty sure none of us are really surprised by the view of the extremists in our community and on this board anymore. The fella sitting in front of me tonight has been using profanity towards the folks here from the Mobile Home Advisory Board and making jerk-off hand motions several times tonight at the folks calling for human dignity. Sorry, Gracie, I know that makes you uncomfortable. But sure, hatred doesn't exist in our city. I'm not going to waste my time trying to convince anybody of the value of this committee. If you don't already see it, I can't help you. On that note, I'm going to finish up by speaking on agenda item number 29, submitted by Pat, wherein 3 council members appointed by Tony, oh, I wonder who he'll appoint, would create a new declaration and policy of human dignity. If I haven't made it clear, I can't think of any 4 people I would trust less on a policy on human dignity. All of this is a waste of the city's money for the purpose of furthering your own political careers. I'll reference the Gadsden flag tonight so that maybe you'll hear it. Stop treading on us. As Avery so eloquently said earlier tonight, we will bite back for your whole short careers. Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks for being here.
Yes.
Next speaker, thanks for being
Good
here.
evening, Mayor and City Council. My name is Joanne Sosa. I have some mixed emotions on what I'm about to say, but I just feel it in my heart that I need to speak what I feel is the truth. I'm speaking on item 27, and I am in favor of streamlining the Human Relations Commission. The Human Relations Commission does use resources and a lot of staff time, but after BLM violence, with so much opposition to the authorities and the national push on defunding the police, the city has had to offer raises to get police interested in even being hired. As it is, we're already 30 officers short, 30. That's a lot of money to come up with. I feel that Human Relations Commission has had its time. But in the present climate of violence against police, we need to hire more officers to protect the Huntington Beach community and not use these resources to enable hate groups who have zero respect for putting officers and their lives, that put their lives on the line every day. And I think it's interesting that the first woman speaker who spoke about dignity and respect never once mentioned the hate against police in her long speech. And that's suspicious to me for someone who says she champions dignity and will not tolerate hate in her city. Let's streamline programs that do not support our first line of defense. Officers are the ones called in an emergency. They are the ones who save lives. They are the ones who take a bullet when these hate groups would rather take a knee than stand for the flag salute that you just did here in council, or respect the lives of those officers standing in the line of fire.
Thank you. Thanks for being here. Next speaker, thanks so much for being here.
According to some Facebook posts, it has been discovered that I live next door in Fountain Valley. They question if I speak at Fountain Valley City Council meetings. I have in the past when they were considering controversial issues, but in the recent past, they have simply been doing good governance. They make sure the streets are paved, the fire and police departments have up-to-date facilities and equipment, and that city staff are qualified and paid appropriately. However, to use a very simple analogy, when my neighbor's house is on fire, I don't just sit by and watch it burn. Not only is that not only a very neighborly thing to do, but it also risks my house catching on fire too. With that in mind, I am here to oppose agenda items 27, 28, and 29. After only a few meetings with some of the boards, commissions, and committees, the ad hoc committee, made up of only council majority members, is recommending consolidating power into the city council and dissolving many of the citizen-led committees. This is short-sighted and certainly not in the best interest of the community. The most alarming dismantling is of the Environmental and Sustainability Board. As the recent severe weather across the world has indicated, the change to our climate is on a steep curve. As a coastal community with a treasured nature preserve, it is imperative that Huntington Beach be a leader in managing its sustainability, and piling more of that workload onto the council members is not likely to be effective. I'm also concerned about dissolving the Human Relations Commission. Records indicate that there has been a huge increase in hate crimes and hate incidences in Huntington Beach this year. Those closest to the problem should be the most equipped to deal with it, and removing the citizen members of the commission and eliminating all the proactive steps they take is adding fuel to the fire. I oppose item number 29, primarily because it doesn't specify what Councilmember Burns thinks is wrong with the latest revision to the Declaration of Policy on Human Dignity. Does he want to eliminate it altogether, which would lead us to understand that he doesn't believe in the concept of human dignity? Or does he want to enhance it and call for more respect for diversity, in which case I would support his efforts. However, until his goals are made clear, please oppose this item. And finally, please oppose item number 28. We spent hours here in June as you labored over balancing a budget, claiming huge deficits. Why on earth would you want to put all these unnecessary charter amendments on the ballot at $300,000 a pop? And what if you succeed in taking control of local elections? Where will the money come from to provide 12 polling locations and secure the ballot drop boxes? How will you verify a voter's residence without having access to the county voter rolls? Do you expect to pay for that access? Do you expect to set up your own voter rolls from the
10
ground
seconds.
up? Very expensive endeavors, to say the least. Once again, please vote no on items 27, 28, and 29. I don't want to watch my neighbor's house burn.
Thanks for being here. Next speaker, thanks for being here.
Good evening, council members. My name is Buffy Channel. I'm speaking today to express complete astonishment and disapproval of your agenda items 27, 28, and 29. It is clear by looking at the maximum donations given this year to Gracie Vandermark by the exploitive owners of the mobile home parks of Villa Huntington Beach, Rancho Huntington, and Scandia why she is leading the change to eliminate the Mobile Home Advisory Board. Why is this board threatening these 4 new members of City Council? Is it because they are organizing and gaining influence? Are you pandering to your donors? It is important for our mobile home residents to have a voice in this city. They pay taxes, and these new owners are trying to push space rent so high that veterans and retirees are in jeopardy of becoming homeless. This is unacceptable. Why would the 4 new city council members want to eliminate the Human Relations Committee? This group works with police department and local groups to help bring awareness and lessen the amount of hate crimes in our city. Why would you want to send a message that hate is acceptable here? This seems like a wink-wink to bigots and white supremacists that Huntington Beach government does not recognize hate crimes. This is wrong. This is sad. This seems like a recurring theme from these 4 new council members. I mean, you guys hobnob with Proud Boys. With hate crimes up, this seems a bit out of touch and ignorant and sends a bad message to residents and visitors alike. Regarding agenda item 28, I oppose. I thought that the new members of the council were vehemently opposed to changes in the city charter. Now you want to change it? It seems odd. The most alarming item to me is the change to elections. The OC registrar is known statewide with a stellar reputation. I have personally participated in the voting oversight and counting process as an observer. I encourage you all to do so as well. I can tell you that they run a tight ship over there and they have a well-oiled and strict machine. To localize the election process is a very dangerous maneuver. We should not remove Huntington Beach from the oversight and continue participation in the county election process. How will localizing these elections work? How much will it cost? Who's going to monitor this? It seems to me that we are opening ourselves up to questionable election outcomes and just more litigation. Why are you saying on one side of your mouths that we need to eliminate staff positions, and in the other side of your mouths proposing an enormous undertaking and cost of staffing and localizing elections? Once again, on item 29, Mr. Burns shows his true colors. Why would anyone be opposed to the verbiage on our city's Declaration of Policy on Human Dignity? The message coming from our city's government should be one of inclusion, acceptance, safety, and dignity. This should not be a flippant change buried in an agenda. This should have debate and wide public input. It is important that any messages from our
10
city about
seconds.
human rights and human dignity have very clear messaging that brings people together and projects the welcoming and inclusive stance of our populace, our law enforcement, and our government.
Thank you. Next speaker, thanks for being here.
My name is Nick McLaughlin. I'm a resident of Los Amigos Mobile Home Park in Huntington Beach. I am here tonight to encourage the council members to refrain from removing or repealing the Mobile Home Advisory Board, item number 27-23-641, and to discourage the council from implementing a totally unnecessary and inappropriate charter review on item number 28-33-670, proposal number 7, section 102, which calls for local control over elections. Regarding the Mobile Home Advisory Board, nationwide carpetbagging predatory investment groups with zero property management experience have been buying up mobile home parks and immediately gouging retired seniors, veterans, and families with exorbitant and totally unreasonable rent increases that those on a fixed income or working to hardly make ends meet can ill afford. The Mobile Home Residents Coalition proposed a carve-out to the city charter for rent stabilization plan that would be equitable to both the residents and the park owners. The Mobile Home Advisory Board voted 5-4 in May 2022 to recommend the City Council place the carve-out measure on the ballot. All of the park owners opposed it, while all of the residents supported it. 2 at-large independent members voted in favor, including at-large member Scott Miller, who Councilwoman Vandermark claimed recently resigned because nothing gets done. Curiously, it was the City Council that refused to pass the proposed carve-out, a slap in the face to all of their senior constituents. Perhaps it is the City Council itself that needs to be disbanded. With regard to item number 28, when did it suddenly become necessary to dictate the rules on local elections? Conservatives nationwide have been propagating false claims and conspiracy theories about the security of our democratic elections. They regularly quote a convicted felon, conspiracy theorist, and purveyor of falsehoods, Dinesh D'Souza. All of his claims have been thoroughly debunked, including the popular right-wing ballot drops mockumentary, 2,000 Mules. Their favorite conservative news sources flagrantly trumpeted the totally false Rudy Giuliani claims of a suitcase full of ballots being surreptitiously manipulated between a table at voting location in Georgia. And let's not forget the Dominion voting machines. Just ask Rupert Murdoch and Fox News about Dominion voting machines now. I worked as a poll worker in Huntington Beach during the primary election in June of 2020 and in the general election of November of 2020. I worked alongside independents, Democrats, and Republicans during these elections. To a person, all politics were left outside of the voting center as we all worked together as one unit to ensure that our mission to protect the rights of everyone were performed.
Thank you. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you. Thank you. Next speaker, thanks so much for being here.
Hi, my name is Marilyn Bohm. I'm a 30-year resident of Huntington Beach, and I'm here to speak in opposition of agenda item number 29. In May 1944, on one of the holiest of religious holidays, my grandparents, uncle, aunts, and young nephews were rounded up by Nazis in a small town in Hungary and deported to Auschwitz. They were gassed upon arrival and burned in ovens. Their crime? They were Jews. Years and another lifetime later, I moved to Huntington Beach, where I learned in 1996 City Council members Shirley Detloff and Ralph Bauer had sponsored the Declaration of Policy for Human Dignity. It was in response to 2 brutal hate crimes perpetrated by white supremacists, which resulted in our fine city becoming known as the skinhead capital of the country. The policy was unanimously adopted by the entire City Council. Because of the pride I felt that my city had taken a stand against hate, I wrote a letter to the council members thanking them for their action. I was subsequently invited to join the task force. The task force, consisting of every ethnic group and religion, has restored my faith in humanity. The work they've done over the years has increased understanding and compassion and shown the world that Huntington Beach celebrates diversity and inclusivity. Our Visit HB webpage displays that very message. Sadly, during the past few years, there's been a resurgence of hate crimes against Jews, LGBTQ communities, and other minority groups. In 2023 alone, there have been 14 hate crimes or incidents in Huntington Beach, including the recent distribution of 100 flyers with hate messages against Jews and LGBTQ people. We need this Human Relations Commission now more than ever. Don't destroy our city's declaration that Huntington Beach is a community where all people feel respected, valued, and free from discrimination and violence. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thanks for being here. Thank you. Madam Clerk?
Yep. Okay, so the last group, last call for Lana Fossum and Patty Wilson, and the remaining speakers, Catherine McGowan, Chris Burns, Spencer Hegeman, Chris Waring, Claire Bostick, John Bostick, Justine Makoff, Kim King, Roger Knorr, Carol Canode, Dom Jones.
Thanks so much for being here. Thank you.
You're welcome, Mayor, members of the City Council. My name is Kathleen McGowan, and at the moment, I serve on the Environmental and Sustainability Board. I was just reappointed at the June meeting. I'm not here to express political opinion of any sort. If there were a commission in the city that's apolitical, I would say it is our group, our board. We never talk politics, we talk about the environment. The one thing I learned from the staff report is that the board, the environmental board, was originally established in 1979, which makes perfect sense to me because the 1970s were when the Clean Air Act, the Clean Water Act, the Superfund Act, and the Resource Conservation and Recovery Act, which is the hazardous waste regulations, were established by our federal government. So this city has a long history of concern for the environment. Clearly, our storied beaches, our wetlands, those are tremendous resources, which I think most people in this room would agree are valuable assets that should be protected. I serve on the board, not because I want to provide input to the city as a resident. I serve because I have expertise that I wanted to offer my city. I have a bachelor's in chemical engineering, a master's in environmental engineering, and over 30 years of environmental consulting experience, which other municipalities currently pay me to provide, and I do at no charge to the city of Huntington Beach. My fellow board members have equal, if not greater, credentials than I do in different areas. I have been very impressed by their knowledge. We provide a diversity of viewpoints on environmental issues. And if you are concerned about staff time supporting our board, I would suggest you consider changing some aspects of the way we're run and going back to letting us have our own chair, run the meeting ourselves, and not demand prepare minutes and that sort of thing so that staff can merely monitor what we do, provide input to us on items for the agenda to minimize staff resources. But I think it would be a loss for the city. I don't have to continue to serve on the board. There are many other members of the residents or businesses in the city who may be able to provide equally valuable advice to the council, but I do think it's a valuable service and encourage you to consider continuing with it. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you. Next speaker, thanks for being here.
Good evening. My name is Kim King, and I've been a resident of Huntington Beach for over 45 years. Initially, I came here to speak tonight to voice my opposition on number 27, but after listening to a lot of the other speakers, I also want to speak out against 28 and 29, but I'm going to focus primarily on number 27. I want to give you a face to, who lives in a mobile home. It's not just seniors, it's not just veterans. There's all sorts of people. There's single moms, there are college students, immigrants. By taking away our voice, by getting rid of a local committee where we can go to express our concerns, that is really hurting the democratic process. Democracy is supposed to be a government that's of the people, by the people, and for the people, and our voices need and deserve to be heard. I'm a special education teacher, and one of the things I try to teach my students is to have empathy and to do perspective taking. And I think that would really serve this council well to actually try to put themselves in the shoes of maybe some of the constituents that have spoken up here. If you were on a fixed income, look at what inflation has done the last few years. People in those situations, they need and deserve a safe place to live. And, Huntington Beach is a great city. We are all here because we love this city. And I loved the woman who shared her poem that she created here tonight. I thought that was very heartfelt. I understand feelings are running strong and we can get very polarized and very political, but you know what? One thing that we all have in common is we all love our city. We're all here because we care about our city. And I just hope that you will really listen to the people that have spoken tonight and that you will reconsider counseling those committees because I feel they're very important. I'm going to give you a little personal story as somebody who went to high school here. I grew up in Long Beach in a very diverse neighborhood. When I first started in Marina High School, I was very shocked to find that a lot of my fellow Caucasian students had very racist views. I had never heard some of the slurs that I heard coming into Huntington Beach in the 1980s. You say, oh, that was then, things have changed. My own students, my own children are half Arabic. And when they started at Huntington Beach High School, they also received some racial slurs. There was a lot of people that were anti-Arabic after what had happened with September 11th. And so these committees are still relevant
10 seconds.
and they're still important. And I just hope that you'll reconsider disbanding them and don't do it. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Next speaker, thanks for being here.
Yeah, good evening, council and mayor. Still waiting for a call back if you get a chance. Anyway, my name is Chris Waring, and I just want to update some figures here, a little economic information. I live in Surf City Beach Cottages, formerly Pacific Ocean Park. My family has been associated with Huntington Beach for over 60 years. They owned a home. Oh, actually, the original beachfront here, there were traders. Probably you guys don't remember. But anyway, then Pacific Ocean Park, Pacific Ocean Cottages, I guess they call it. Anyway, so to make a long story short, if you drive down Huntington Avenue, you look to your left, and you see an old fence. It goes all the way down to the end of the park. That's been there for over 50 years. Okay, 50 years. And inside the park, I'm a senior. I'm 75 years old, almost 75 years old. And the park, the robber barons of our park, Star Management, Joe Saunders, he does things for the renters. Basically, he's put solar panels on several of the high-rise 2- and 3-story rental units there. But did any of the other people get access to this lower energy cost, which costs us about $200 a month? But no. Additionally, we got a lot of pine or palm trees in there, and do they ever cut them? Nope. I mean, sometimes you can't even sleep when there's a storm or something because they're just brushing all over the place. So they haven't done anything, and particularly for the seniors. There's still a few of us seniors that are in that park. Most of them are rentals there now. But just some facts. Last year I told you that, Last year I told you there was 7.25% for me. In addition to inflation last year, that's 15%. I got to pay it out of my pocket. This year, I'm going up $173, which is 7%. Now, if you believe Bidenomics, who knows? That adding the 4% current inflation, that's 11%. So in 2 years, my rent or my lifestyle has been affected by a 26% rent increase. I'm old. I work 3 jobs part-time to maintain a reasonable lifestyle. Out of my retirement, I retired 10 years ago, I have $675 left after I have to pay these guys.
10 seconds, sir.
Okay. So something's got to be done. It's not fair. It's just not fair. They tell me, well, you got to leave. I can't go anywhere. My family's down here. Thank you.
Thank you for being here. Thank you. Next speaker, thanks so much for being here.
Good evening, Mayor Strickland and City Council members. My name is Claire Bostic. I've lived in Huntington Beach for almost 46 years, and I'm a retired public school teacher. I'm here to express my concern over items 27 and 29. There are other ones too, but I'm going to just talk about that. With regard to agenda item 27, cutting back of citizens from committees, task force, councils, et cetera, that report to the city council. These specific groups of people are just citizens, usually volunteers, and they help you do your job. That's what they're there for. They keep track of the pulse of the city. There are only so many of you. You can't be everywhere. You can't know what all the different neighborhoods are thinking about and what they're concerned about. And you do need to know this information from as many ways as possible. These committees and task force are composed of ordinary citizens to help you. And by eliminating the private voices of these committees and task force, you will simply function as an echo chamber for your own ideas. You are to represent all the people of Huntington Beach, not just the people who voted for you. And how will you know what they're thinking if you don't hear from the people in the community? Now, there is one committee that I think is crucial to have, and that's the Human Relations Committee. As a city, we must demonstrate that we take human rights and dignity seriously. And we need this committee to look for solutions, to work with the police, and we need to have specifics about this city, not just general stuff about San Juan Capistrano and all the other cities, Santa Ana. That is not what the task force are supposed to be doing. They're supposed to focus on this city and feed to you this information. Now, we've had all kinds of problems in this city. I mean, it started when we were the center for the Ku Klux Klan back in the 20s. And we've had attacks of African Americans. I've witnessed attacks on Vietnamese. We have even been attacked verbally by people in the audience here at city council meetings. Now we are witnessing attacks in this city on LGBTQ plus youth. I'm especially concerned with the youth.
10 seconds, ma'am.
Okay. It's just not acceptable. Also, on item 29, I don't think you need to change it at all.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks for being here. Next speaker, thanks so much for being here.
Oh, thank you, Honorable Mayor and council members, for allowing me to stand behind my wife. So I won't repeat what she said. I'm not going to try and misquote her. I will relate a couple personal experiences. When I was a boy, I would collect coins, pennies specifically. And if you read on the one side, it's "In God We Trust." Personally, I have a lot of faith in that. The obverse side, the flip side, "E pluribus unum." Probably the first Latin I ever read or saw and I was told it was something along the lines of "from any one" or "out of many one." 13 extremely diverse colonies from Georgia to Massachusetts and everything in between to get along, to become this nation, to spend 5 to 10 years figuring out how to run this nation, another 200 debating it, but that's still going on. So, it took inclusion of diverse opinions, diverse experiences, diverse attitudes, all coming together, and it wasn't perfect, but they managed to make it work better than any one of them could on their own. In my own experience, decades is developing in-house business systems and implementing them. And one of my experiences that I discovered, and I wasn't the first, the more people you included from diverse experiences, diverse attitudes and opinions, the better the end result. The product was always better than any one person. Even my opinions, which were obviously the best, they weren't as good as what the group came up with, whether it was machinists on the shop floor, and forgive me, accountants in the audience, or the bean counters up in the front office. Bringing them together resulted in better results. And a few things popped out. Respect for everyone's dignity. I know we've found that very difficult tonight, and we've got very diverse opinions. But coming together with mutual respect, even though we may feeling emotionally distraught inside, inclusion of a diverse group of people and an open communications, and that's where I come to the items of including the community groups, whether it's Sunset Beach, Oakview neighborhood, including these diverse communities so they have a voice.
10 seconds.
Including the Human Relations Commission. We've heard that may be taking away police resources. This group allows a place to come with issues and problems before people call 911, requiring even more serious police intervention and resources.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next speaker, thanks so much for being here.
Hi, my name is Carol Canode, and thank you for allowing me to speak tonight. My concern is that you're elected to serve all of the people and not a particular political agenda. And I have been the founder of the Huntington Youth Shelter here and found an extremely caring, loving community that supported the shelter. It took us 10 years to build it, but the city was right behind us with the police department and the city council. So what I feel is happening now, I sort of come out of the semi-retirement. I do volunteer at the library, which is another whole issue with me. I feel that there's a cloud of hate going on, darkness, where I don't see that we're being listened to. And I have a proposal as a Jersey girl. I really think what this city needs is a museum. We don't have a museum honoring anything. I looked at the list of mayors there, the pictures, and know many of them, some have passed. And I think we do need a museum here to honor this city and the history. There's one in Westminster, There's one in Santa Ana. We don't have one here. And my question is why? Why aren't we spending time on that? This would be a wonderful legacy for this council, and I would urge you to do that. Be very happy to help in any way I can. Thank you for your time.
Thank you so much. Thanks for being here. Next speaker, thanks so much for being here.
Hi, I'm Justine Makoff. Thank you, Honorable Mayor Strickland and the esteemed council, our fire chief, all the officers, our chief of police, everybody who works so hard to serve on behalf of our city. These are not easy times, and I trust that you will use your best judgment in making decisions on behalf of all of us. So I thank you for all that you do. I recently attended a city council meeting in another city, Brea, and granted it's not quite as large as Huntington Beach, but I was the only speaker the night that I came. So I think we are so lucky to be able to come and speak before you and share our concerns and our hopes and our dreams for the city. It's a great gift that we have, and I hope that we can always maintain dignity and empathy and respect for one another as we share our frustrations and our dreams and our hopes. I am here to share, of course, I'm always here on behalf of Free Reign Foundation. It's a nonprofit that I care deeply about, and I've been serving for over 9 years. We have a big fundraiser coming up, and if I don't want to ever step on anybody's toes, I know that this is a very heavy night, but I do want to share with you that we have our big fundraiser on the 12th, and if anybody would like to come and see what we're about and have some fun, please go to our website. It's at freerainfoundation.org. We would love to see you there and anybody else from the community. If you have any questions, you can find me if you look me up on the website. Thank you so much for your time and the ability to be here with you all today.
Thanks for being here. Thank you. Next speaker, thanks so much for being here.
Hello, my name's Chris, and I've been a resident of Huntington Beach for 55 years. Love this city and love our city council, especially the 4 newly elected council members. And I love our city attorney too, but he wasn't newly elected, so I didn't want to include him with those 4. But I actually think that this is the best council that we've had, and certainly in my residency in this city. And I paid attention. I used to watch Channel 3, which shows you what kind of life I had back then. But you know, I watched Ralph Bauer, I watched Dave Sullivan, I watched all those guys, and like I listened to all of the accolades for Ralph Bauer, and I guess when people die, that's what people do, but that's not the Ralph I saw on this city council. That guy was the most arrogant son of a gun that I had ever seen. So I just want that on the record. Also, you know, it's interesting that we've had, I don't know, what, 60 people come up here and talk, and not one of them mentioned the U.S. Open. The greatest event in Huntington Beach is going on right now. And that kind of shows you the self-righteousness up here at this podium tonight is unbelievable, man. You can cut it with a knife. And we got the U.S. Open going on, and nobody says anything about it. I know the 2 people on this side of the dais up here probably don't even know where the beach is, but the U.S. Open is a great event, and I know I only got 3 minutes, but if my last name was Detloff, I'd have about 3 minutes and 20 seconds, evidently, but probably at 3 you're going to cut me off. So anyways, the other thing about the council members, the vibe in this city is the best it's ever been. I can tell you that I consider myself part of the silent majority, and that we're silent. And I listen to all the people come up here and trash you guys, and it's not that way. That's not the Huntington I know. The majority of the people of the city support you, Gracie, support you, Tony, support you, Casey, support you, Pat, and support you, Michael, completely. And I also want to say that I think it's disgusting that One person used this podium to fan the flames of racism
10 seconds.
tonight. And that's just incredible to me. And she was a person of color. And that's not the Huntington Beach I know. The Huntington Beach I know is welcoming to everybody.
Thank you. Thanks so much for being here. Thank you so much. Thank you. Next speaker, thanks so much for being here.
Hello, Council. My name is Dom Jones. A lot of you are familiar with who I am. I'm running for Congress in this district as well. And I've been living here for almost 10 years. And what I've seen tonight has hurt my heart. I've seen a lot of division. I've seen a lot of partisanship. I've seen a lot of people in the grips of their pain and of their hurt. And so I decided I'd say a few words to you, and this is what I'll say. I traveled the world as a missionary and an ordained minister for many years, and I care a lot about the Bible and what it says. So I just will share a scripture. The scripture is at Philippians chapter 2, verse 3. It says, "Do nothing out of selfish ambition or vain conceit. Rather, in humility, value others above yourselves." I'm talking to you because all of you guys are servant leaders. You are here to serve. You're here to protect Huntington Beach and to look after Huntington Beach. The partisanship on the city council is out of control. It's ridiculous, and it's causing a lot of pain in the city. A lot of people that came here to talk tonight came here to share their heart and how they feel with you because they are feeling hurt by the decisions that they are seeing being considered. What is a leader but someone that we seek to look after us? What is a leader but a person that we are saying, please take care of me? Are we supposed to become leaders and then get caught up in our ego and what serves ourselves? Are we supposed to become leaders and then forget who's out here and the voices that are out here? Are we supposed to focus on one agenda? No. We're supposed to love one another. There's another scripture that says, love your neighbor as yourself. So I say to you all, every last one of you, from Dan all the way down to Michael Gates, I'm not here to be in extreme opposition to you. I'm here to tell you that you are in a position of great power. And to those who have great power, much is to be expected. And what you are doing right now, in many ways, is breaking down even further the pain that this country is in and the fear that has gripped the hearts of many men and women in this country. We don't need it anymore. We need unity, and we need love. We need more love in Huntington Beach. And it's really incumbent upon you to focus on that as most important. That's all.